And now to give the most famous words in racing, Magic Johnson.
All right, are you ready? Drivers, start your engine!
There was more than a little magic in that call.
Oh, the last couple of weeks, I mean, with McClanahan and now today, I mean, these guys are on it. I like it.
Speaking of a little magic, add that to a little science, and we'll go to Mooresville, North Carolina, where Larry's my neighbor, Michael McSwain, is sitting recuperating from surgery, but he's got his NASCAR track pass. He's got more laptops behind him than Nelson Crozier. You are wired and dialed and ready to go, and you're on with us. What do you think about all this?
It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's been a week full of questions, and a lot of them have been answered.
Well, Fatback, we know that how you're going to monitor your race car, and by virtue of the track pass, how will you actually be communicating with your crew during the race?
Yeah, Nextel and Racing Radios will work together and put some things together where I'll actually have an open line of communication with my engineer Hoyt pretty much all day long. So to kind of be, I'll talk to Hoyt, Hoyt will talk to Ricky, or I'll talk to Hoyt, Hoyt will talk to Eddie. It's a pretty good line. The guys have done a lot of work in a short amount of time, and it looks like it's going to work pretty good.
Yeah, well, they're always picking on drivers about how lazy we are. Now the crew chiefs are going to start running the races from their couch at home. I don't know about that.
From the recliner. Glad you're up and about, feeling better, and we'll check in with you later on. Michael McSwain, crew chief for Ricky Rudd. Engines coming to temperature. Race fans at the ready, and we hope you are too. We'll be back with the starting lineup. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Welcome back to the Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q. As the field begins to roll out onto this 2-mile superspeedway, Governor Schwarzenegger atop the flag stand as we get ready to roll. And the car that will take the green flag first is Kyle Busch. Budweiser, official beer of NASCAR, proud sponsor of the Budweiser Pool Award, given to the fastest qualifier at each NASCAR Nextel Cup race. Budweiser congratulates this week's fastest qualifier, Kyle Busch, who is the latest Budweiser Shootout eligible driver. Joining Dale Jarrett, the Daytona 500 pole sitter. Here's the starting lineup for today's Auto Club 500 with the youngest front row ever, average age 20, Busch and Vickers. And let's get some late updates from pit road. First, Dick Bergman.
Yeah, I like that young front row, Mike. And the question is whether one of those kids is going to win the race today, or will it go to somebody who is more than twice as old as the average age of that front row? Will it be Mark Martin or Dale Jarrett or Bill Elliott, one of the senior drivers? It's going to be fun to watch. Let's go to Steve Burns.
Well, Dick, Tony Stewart said yesterday he's so enthusiastic and fired up about the season after a great start at Daytona. The momentum derailed just a bit on Friday when they had a bad transmission. NASCAR looks at that like an engine change, so Tony Stewart will go to the rear, but charge to the front. Matt?
Kevin Harvick is another favorite who starts well deep in the field, rolling off 31st today. They had a great test session here in January. In fact, they had one of the best cars here during testing in January. Kevin says the car near perfect on Friday, just doesn't have a lot of speed at the beginning of a run, but they expect to be there at the end of the run, so they're hoping for a good day today. He hasn't won in 53 races since the Brickyard back in 2003. To Jeannie.
Well, numbers can be deceiving, and that includes the starting position for our reigning champion. Sure, Kurt Busch will roll off 20th today, but he is very happy with his car, and his crew chief, Jimmy Fennick, told me, look, we expect to have a top 10 finish here, but then again, we want that finish to be first. And do not forget that everything that is in that car is the same stuff that was in Mark Martin's car on a Saturday. Martin, of course, dominating the Busch race.
Thanks, Jeannie. Jeff Gordon's big number is 3. Last week he won his 3rd Daytona 500, and he comes into California with 3 victories here. He's in his drive for 5, looking for his 5th Cup Series championship. In '97, he won the first 2 races of the season, becoming the 4th driver in NASCAR history to do so. Nobody has turned the season opening double twice. Gordon trying to become the first. Right now, he's in this exclusive company. Marvin Panch, Bob Welborn, David Pearson.
Well, you know, the other thing is, Mike, is this is the first time we've come to California for the second race, too, and this is one of his favorite racetracks.
That's right. We used to start at Riverside, California, not far from here, and Daytona was the 2nd race of the season. Then it was Daytona Richmond, then it was Daytona Rockingham. Now it's Daytona California.
You see right there, 250 laps, 500 miles, 2 keys today. We always talk about pit window, 45 to 50 laps on fuel. Seems like we always get those long green runs here, and several of these races have been won by fuel mileage. But when I'm going to go back to Daytona last week, pit road 55 miles per hour. Remember, NASCAR is monitoring pit road speed electronically now. We saw a lot of offenders last week for pit road speeding. You get caught speeding on pit road on a green flag stop, it could take you right out of this race.
Elliott Sadler has a light on his dash, and I think they're going to have to do something like this, everybody is, to warn him when he's exceeding the speed.
8 onboard views. There's our Brady Bunch or tic-tac-toe or whatever the show Whoopi Goldberg does screen for you, showing all of our Fox onboards as we get ready to race behind the Chevy SSR convertible pickup pace truck.
Now, Steve Burns talked about Tony Stewart having to drop to the rear because of that transmission change. He'll have a little company. Of course, Dave Blaney, who crashed in qualifying going to a backup car in the 07, he will be back there. And remember, these guys could not work on their cars. They could make slight adjustments per NASCAR structure this morning. But John Andretti, Randy LaJoie, Jeff Green, Elliott Sadler, who had problems qualifying with a spark plug because of unapproved adjustments, they will have to go to the rear as well, so they'll have their work cut out for them.
One crew chief told me, he said, you know what, DW, best night of sleep I've ever had at a racetrack Saturday night, because there wasn't anything I could do.
Didn't have to spend half the night in the motor coach talking to that driver about the adjustments we wanted to make.
I think what we expect to see here is one driver will have hit the setup just right, and he may streak away from the field. But fear not. Pit stops and adjustments should bring the field back together. We'll see different leaders. We may see a big lead. But I think at the end, we'll see everybody together once again.
Yeah, and I think with Jeff Gordon back there, Tony Stewart back there, you're going to see guys that are going to come through the field from the middle of the pack and the rear. And then you're going to see these 2 young men up front, see if they can hang on or not.
As you say, I think we'll see comers and we'll see goers.
There's the view from the spotter stand of a packed grandstand and a packed field. 43 cars deep. Pace trucks in.
DW, what do you think, buddy? Let's get this West Coast party started. Pull those belts tight one more time.
Watch Arnold. He's going to say it too. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Now, you can believe one thing, Mike, Larry, you know this. You're tippy-toeing that first turn because you haven't been in that hot rod for a while. You're not sure what you got. So be real cautious. What?
I don't believe that group's tippy-toeing. They were 4 wide down the back straightaway.
I thought you boys would be real cautious. Where's Biffle?
There he is right there. We're riding with him. Remember, lap 5, he said he's going to be leading this race.
He might have.
He's the eye of the storm right now.
He might have bitten off a little more than he could chew.
The Hendrick teenagers have tied up. Kyle Busch, Brian Vickers, ages 19 and 21. They have linked together and taken off.
And Kyle Busch in the 5 car, he just led his first lap ever in Nextel Cup racing.
Oh, and it will not be the last. That young man is so talented, just like his brother.
Youngest pole sitter and now the youngest driver ever to lead a lap in Nextel Cup. He's going to allow his teammate the opportunity to pick up 5 points.
Well put, Mike. I'm not so sure he's not allowing him to do that.
And guys, we know following the chase for the Cup, those 5 points just for leading a lap, even on race 2, can be so important at the end of 26 races.
Okay, that's enough for you. I won the pole. I want back out front.
You have your 5 points now.
Yeah, you got what you wanted.
Speaking of the Hendricks cars, there's Terry Labonte in the 44 car making his first start of the year. He's back in 11th position right now.
What I'm so happy about for Terry, Bill, Elliott, And these guys, Martin, they are getting an opportunity to finish their career in a grand fashion. I'm so happy for them all.
Greg Biffle in that posted National Guard Ford, the number 16, boldly said yesterday, I will lead this race by lap 5.
Yeah.
It is lap 3. He is third.
His race is a 5-lap race right now. He knows what he said, and he knows we made a big deal out of it.
Darrell, that car looks just like Mark Martin's car did last night in the Busch race. So he's battling Brian Vickers in the 25. He'll take second down the back straightaway.
He knew it. I love it when a guy can predict what he's going to do and then make it happen.
Yeah, people used to hate it when you do that,
yeah,
but you'd back it up. You'd do it.
It's a beautiful thing. Here he comes.
He's going to miss it by 1. He's going to lead by lap 4. Here comes Biffle. Lead change. Greg Biffle's Ford out front. Dick Berggren.
Well, Biffle apparently didn't listen to his crew because they told him, be patient. Patient? I don't think so.
Well, he was cautiously patient. That's impressive. I mean, he knew what he had. That's pretty good call on his part.
But Darrell, I'm not surprised because this is the type of racetrack that this group was so strong at last year. Remember, he won at Brooklyn, Michigan in August, a track very similar. Plus, all during testing, the teams around here said, we're going to have to beat that 16 car. Dick.
We just heard from Greg Biffle for the first time. He asked his crew, what lap is it?
Yeah, as if he didn't know.
There's Doug Richard, his crew chief, who is a California native.
I saw Doug this morning. I said, Doug, your driver said 5 laps. And I said, you think we ought to bet on him? He said, I'd bet on him if I were you.
And just remember, the first championship that Dale Earnhardt won back in 1980, that was his crew chief right there, Doug Richard.
From California. Rod Osterlund, him.
See, Jeff Gordon
on the move.
In the 24 car, remember, he started back in 28th. He's not made a big move. He's up to 24th right now, riding behind Michael Waltrip in the 15 car.
Big concern in that whole DEI camp with the 8 and the 15.
Uh-oh, Ricky Rudd in trouble.
Looks like damage on the, is it something on the right front fender? Yeah, he's gotten into something.
He may have got into the wall, Darrell.
I don't know. It's this on the front right there. I don't see anything down the side. It's almost like
pull the fenders off. It looks like a right front damage. Pull it off. We'll change 4 tires.
This pit road is so long. You see right there, 55 miles per hour.
Rudd got caught up in it in the Daytona 500, Darrell. Went down laps early, finished well in the back. It's tough to start your season out with 2 incidents.
Oh, yeah. You can turn upside down, getting started off like that. You got a deep hole you got to dig out of. Sometimes it's just impossible.
I tell you, another car on the move. Greg Biffle's teammate, Matt Kenseth, in that 17 car, had a great qualifying run, qualified 6th. Now he just took over the 2nd position.
The number 5, that CarQuest Chevy, pole sitter Kyle Busch, has dropped back to 3rd. Steve?
Mike, he just reported that his car is a little bit snug in the center of the turns, and it jumps a little bit when he gets in the gas. Right before the race, his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, said, it's a long race. Be patient.
And Steve, just remember, these guys, as Mike had mentioned earlier, they have not been on the racetrack but for 2 qualifying laps since Friday. This racetrack is substantially different. I think we will hear that snug, the car not turning all day long.
Let's see what. Let's see if we can figure out what happened to Rudd here. Brush there.
That's Bill Elliott.
Bill, and then Bill hooked him. I see what happened. Looks like Ricky was coming down on the outside, and when Bill bounced off the wall,
it almost caught up Jeff Burton and Tony Stewart as well.
It did. It separated them all out there.
Nine laps complete. Greg Biffle out in front of the Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q. Welcome back to California Speedway, where Greg Biffle has made good on his promise to lead within the first 5 laps. And he's well out front. I believe our honorary starter is, well, I thought he was going to be there for the day, but Arnold Schwarzenegger, California's governor, spent the first dozen laps up in the flag stand, and now he and the kids that accompanied him up there, after having really quite a thrill to have those cars come by at 180 miles an hour.
always think about Ronald Reagan. You know, I asked him what it was going to be like to be president. He said, I don't know. I never played one. I was going to ask Arnold what it was like to be governor.
I wonder what it's like to be Greg Biffle. You're 2.2 seconds out in front of this man, Matt Kenseth, your Roush Racing teammate, and you're 4 seconds ahead of Joe Nemechek as Kurt Busch and Dale Jarrett battle for 8th position. 8th to Busch.
The challenge is over for Biffle. He did what he said he was going to do. Now what? Now I got to ride around out here the rest of the day.
Don't be surprised, as we said at the top of the show, to see one driver take off and lead this race, because with 43 talented engineers and crews in the garage, somebody had to hit the setup exactly right for today's track conditions and take off, at least for a while.
Yeah, and here's what a lot of the crew chiefs and a lot of the drivers know that have been down this road before. This is a long, long race. This is 500 miles. Let it come to you. You don't have to go up there and do anything right now. Just let it come to you.
See Elliott Sadler in the 38 car there battling Bobby Labonte, 18. Remember, Elliott Sadler had to go to the rear of the field. Their car wouldn't hardly run during qualifying, and Doug Yates, Todd Parrott showed me this morning the porcelain on the spark plug had cracked. It was only running on 7 cylinders, had to go to the rear of the field.
Matt Kenseth started 6th. That's way above his average starting spot, and he is up to 2nd, Matt.
Mike talking to his crew chief, Robbie Reiser, they feel like this new format will benefit Matt. Not known to be a great qualifier. If you look at his wins, usually they take place from 17 through 26. Those are normally where he starts when he goes to victory lane. But they also feel like an importance will really have to be put on testing. You're going to have to show up at their racetrack with all your I's dotted, your T's crossed if you're going to be successful, especially with this new format. Right now, Matt, he says the car is a little loose on exit, but good.
Thanks, Matt. Tony Stewart qualified 29th, but after the transmission change started this race in the rear. He has climbed to 23rd position halfway through the field, Steve.
Car really on the move. He says this car is a little snug in the center, but I'm beating him really good in turns 1 and 2. He also told his crew, you got to drive these things now. You really got to drive them. It's going to move around a little bit. He's referring to that 1 inch less of spoiler on the back of these race cars.
And Darrell, if this car's a little snug, we've been talking about that a lot, the car not turning. I can see where it would be a little better in 1 and 2 than 3 and 4, because you arc the thing down into turn 1 and 2. It's more of a straighter corner than 3 and 4.
Yeah, they're totally different turns. Both 1 and 2 is totally different than 3 and 4. You really got to turn hard when you get down at the end of the back straightaway. Of course, big D-shaped racetrack, so the big circle parts around the front, a little short straightaway down the back.
Talk about big picture racing. Carl Edwards qualified 19th. He is going to bring another Roush car up to the front. Now 3 of the front 4 are Roush Racing Fords.
I think we have a rash of Roush cars.
But Darrell, you pointed that out. Every practice session we did, the Roush cars were up there. In fact, we basically have 4 Roush cars in the top 7, including Kurt Busch in the 97 and 7th. And Mark Martin's not far out of the top 10 in the 6th. He's back in 11th position. They've been good here ever since they unloaded on Friday.
And sort of a reversal of roles, because we had all Hendrick-powered cars up front when qualifying was over with, like 7 of the top 12. Now we got all Roush-powered cars up front for the race.
Dick Berggren's in the leader's pit.
And Greg Biffle's got a 2.3-second lead on his teammate Matt Kenseth, but the car is no longer functioning perfectly for him. He said the next set of tires he wants to have them a little bit tighter. The car is losing total grip, he said. It is particularly loose off turn 4. Goodyear came with a tire to this event that they deliberately wanted to have give up more quickly than the tires in the past, which would add much more strategy to the event, and that's just what's happening so far, Mike.
Well, Dick, I would say probably everybody here 20 laps into this race, they're starting to slide around. I think everyone is losing grip because, again, that softer tire, it has more grip in the beginning. I think that's why we saw so many cars break the track record, but it gives up more over the long run.
Mark Martin has just moved into the top 10, moving up past Scott Riggs, who is 10th, and Jamie McMurray, 11th. Roush Racing rules in California so far. Greg Biffle, Matt Kenseth out front.
The Auto
Club 500 on Fox is presented by New Q from Quaker State, the heat-activated oil that helps maximize the power of your engine. And brought to you by Nextel. Go to foxsports.com to find out how you could be the Nextel Fan of the Week. By Ford, the next Ford Super Duty. Tougher, stronger, smarter. And by new Tylenol Extra Strength Rapid Release Gels. Team Tylenol, think fast. And we're glad to have you at the Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q, as you get a look at our first caution here on lap 29. 49-year-old Bill Elliott with some problems, and he was involved earlier, Jeff Hammond, with a little rubbing up against Ricky Rudd.
Yeah, he actually had gotten together with the 21 car coming up off the corner. He got into the wall just a little bit, and he came off the wall, hooked Ricky Rudd, and actually turned him in the outside wall. Ricky had to come to pit road, and I think Bill had kind of like dropped to the back of the pack. So
and then this,
all
most
of a sudden,
recently?
he had problems right there going up through the corner and hits the wall, outside wall, really hard with the right side of the car. Can't really tell from here what happened, Chris, but that was a hard lick he just got through taking.
And out of the car, Bill Elliott is fine in his 9th California Cup race here. Best finish 4th. He's done that twice. First caution, Greg Biffle took the lead on lap 4. Remember, let's take a look from the onboard camera.
We're looking at the front of like he just lost it. Something must have broke on that race car, but that was looking out of the front windshield of Carl Edwards' car.
Caution is out. Caution is out.
Still your leader, took over on lap 4. Let's check in on the pit stops, and we'll start with Matt Yoka. Matt?
Jimmie Johnson enters pit road in the 5th position. His crew up on the wall. Jimmy says the car is both tight and loose. He thinks it's free on exit because of the tightness. They're going to make a chassis adjustment. Chad Knaus will try to fix that handling characteristic by shuffling the air pressure as well.
Greg Biffle has pitted just a little bit to the rear of his pit stall. He can do that. He's got nobody behind him. That ensures that he won't get blocked in. Jeannie?
Well, Kurt Busch coming into the weekend saying handling was going to be so important here. They're going to take a little bite out of this car. Wedge adjustment, air pressure adjustment, 4 tires, of course. Steve?
Jeannie, Kyle Busch also saying that he is loose off, free on the exit. They'll make an air pressure adjustment. They put some wedge in the left rear, 4 tires for Kyle Busch. And he's out of his pit box.
Thanks, Steve. Larry, I'm wondering if when Bill Elliott bounced off the wall earlier in that little dust-up with Ricky Rudd, might that have bent or broken something like the track bar or something in the rear end, eventually failing?
I tend to believe it did. And the reason I say that, Mike, he had slowed down quite a bit. He had just got lapped before that happened.
So 26 laps in, Bill Elliott brings out the caution flag here at California Speedway.
Laps in at the California Speedway, and this is a Visa Race Break. Nice to have you watching. A couple of Kyles. Kyle Petty leading now with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers in the Hollywood Hotel. Moments ago, Kyle Busch on that first caution. Trouble in the pits. The 19-year-old sitting on the pole, losing 7 positions with a miscue, Jeff.
This is sometimes you see will happen with a rookie. He comes down pit road. He comes in pretty hot. He slides through. His pit wheels are turned, but the nose of the car, instead of being straight and turned out, the car never rotates. So he's really close to the wall. Kind of disrupts the timing on the right side. But where it really hurts him is when you try to come around the car, especially the Jackman. He has to clear the right front tire changer, and he had to jump over him. All that does is slow the whole stop down. He came in running 5th. Now he comes out running 15th.
Let's go back upstairs to Mike Joy. This has been a Visa Race Break.
Thanks, Chris. The governor just stopped by, brought his son by.
Yeah, he did. He said
it's
been so exciting down there with all the cars going by. A lot of power, and he knows power, baby.
Let me show you exciting. Michael Waltrip before this caution flag, having a brush with the wall. The blue number 15.
Do you know that Michael has run more miles at this racetrack than anybody else?
Really?
I found that surprising. He's run Busch races, truck races, and
Just a little brush, but this would be the 2nd time of the weekend because he also did the same thing in practice on Friday. He's had a rough week here.
Here's Matt.
And Mike, we told you about the 48 team's pit stop. Now, as the 48 was getting ready to leave, Jason Leffler on board starts to pull out, and a close call Second straight race, close call for Jason Leffler. In fact, Chad Knaus went down and talked to Dave Rogers, the crew chief for Leffler, said, look, let's just, work together, make sure someone keeps an eye on when cars are coming in, because right now Leffler's near the back of the pack, so when he's coming in for service, the leaders are going to be leaving their pit stalls.
Thanks, Matt. Fans are invited to participate in the singular virtual crew chief during today's California race. And here's our first question. Will Jeff Gordon win his second race in a row today? You can vote on your singular phone or go to NASCAR.com. And there's how you enter. You'll be entered to win a singular number 31.
And Mike, a driver never can rest. Even when he's on pit road at pit road speed, he's still got to be on his game because things are happening in the pits just as quickly as they're happening on the track.
Actually, Randy LaJoie right now in the 34 car is leading this race coming to the green, at least for now. He elected to stay out. Kyle Petty stayed out for several laps to get 5 points for leading this race. Can be so important.
Kyle did that last
Same thing at Daytona.
So he's 10 points ahead of the game.
Of course, you see Ricky Rudd there, the red car, the 21 car. He's the only car that is not on the lead lap right now that's actually out on the racetrack. He's 6 laps down.
Bill Elliott would have gotten the free pass, but since he brought out the caution, he's not eligible, so there is no free pass car.
There's the difference right there between 30-lap tires and brand new tires. You see Matt Kenseth in the 17, Greg Biffle in the 16, everybody blowing by Randy LaJoie. Again, that's a lot of laps on tires, 30 laps.
Yeah, but it got me a little TV time.
It got me 5 points.
Got me 5 points. I'm happy.
And that's the Edwards team. They're kind of going to be a little marginal on where they are at the top 35 at the end of these first 5 races. So 5 more points is very important to them as well.
There's no question. Those 5 points, they can keep a lot of these guys in the hunt for the chase for the Cup. Each week, knowing the top 35's locked in the race, it can keep them eligible to race each week automatically.
All right, back under green. Let's get an update on pit stops as we look at Brian Vickers, who started this race from second place. Jeannie?
Let's talk about the 25 car. DW, you mentioned earlier about waiting for the car to come to you. Well, Mr. Vickers is still waiting. He's been experimenting with different lines as we've watched him drop back, and it's really not helping that the car is extremely loose off coming into this last pit stop. He said he cannot get the throttle down at all coming off the corners, hoping that a tire pressure and a wedge adjustment will help. Steve?
But Jeannie, Ryan Newman was not happy with his car at all at the beginning of this race, saying he had no grip. He barely felt like he was on the surface of the racetrack. So they added some wedge, and in fact, they want to be on TV right now because his crew is watching the monitor very closely. They also feel like they have some trash on the grill. The water temperatures are going up on that 12 car. Matt?
Jeff Gordon, a 3-time California winner, on the move, just past Tony Stewart, climbing inside the top 20. Before that caution, Jeff Gordon very animated to his crew chief, Robbie Loomis, about how bad the race car was handling. He had to use a lot of front brake to get the car to actually turn. It's both pushy and loose. They made an air pressure adjustment, shuffled the air pressures on the left side. Dick?
Well, car 01, Joe Nemechek has got himself a very fast race car today, currently running in second position. It's a brand new car with new steering geometry under it. He was 6th just before those pit stops, so he has picked some up. Biffle, meanwhile, his crew has just looked at a replay of their pit stop, and when they finished the replay, they congratulated each other, delighted with the way that pit stop went. Biffle is now, well, he was 3rd for a few moments, but Carl Edwards has just taken that away from him. Edwards had started way back in 19th spot. No changes on Edwards' car at all. He's got a fast race car.
4 Roush Fords in the first 6 spots. The exceptions, Joe Nemechek in 2nd and Jimmy Johnson in 5th. Picked up some audio on Dale Earnhardt Jr., who is now mired back in 27th place after his pit stop. Let's listen.
Bad on getting in. I had y'all backing up to me. Sorry about that. I didn't think the stall was as big as it was. So I cost a little bit there. I'll get deeper in there for to you. Heck, that's about 2 seconds y'all had to move there.
So Junior apologizing for costing his crew a couple of seconds by stopping short in the pit box.
Well, and he's very shallow on pit road. He's only the 2nd pit box coming in. As Jimmy Johnson in the 48's the first one. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Nate's the second one, and he forgot about how big. These are very big pit boxes here.
Kevin LePage in trouble, comes by. The car is running, but it's down on the apron and it's way off speed. Top 10 finish at Daytona. Last car to make it into the field here. He's in trouble.
Yeah, one of the things that the guys were telling me, the drivers were telling me, that this rear spoiler change, cutting it down an inch, has made the cars lose a lot of side bite. In other words, they're not gaining a lot of downforce in yaw, what we call in yaw in the turn. It's required a right rear spring change, soften that spring up a little bit. Also, it's caused them to equal the rear springs up some.
We're probably getting ready to go in.
That was Kevin LePage's spotter, which is actually his wife, Donna. We talked all week long about he has 9 guys on his team. She stopped me in the garage and said, wait a minute, there's 8 guys and myself.
Car 10 moves back into 10th place. That's Scott Riggs, the Valvoline Chevy, ahead of the Texaco Dodge at McMurray, and Dale Jr. with a left front down.
And what they hope, he's over in turn 3 and 4 right now, that he'll be able to get to pit road.
Early pit, 500, second gear, 45.
He will, Larry, but he's going to lose a lap in the process here.
But he hopes that. And the one good thing about it, we just talked about it, he don't have to come very far down pit road to change those tires, Matt.
P. Rondo, the crew chief, just called an audible, said left side tires only. The left front of that tire is completely shredded. The inner liner did his job. Dale Jr. down and away.
But he will go a lap down. He just left his pit box, and here comes Matt Kenseth in the 17 car, putting him a lap down as he exits pit road.
That could be a product of a little bit too low of air pressure in that left front tire, or possibly, I don't know if he got into anybody or not. I hadn't seen.
Let's have a look. Way up top of the screen.
No, I think the tire just started losing air.
Really don't appear, from looking at the fender and all, that he actually got into someone.
Good save.
Left front tire flat. Left front tire down. Coming in.
Flat tire, guys.
Good save.
Second place, Carl Edwards. The Office Depot Ford passed the U.S. Army Chevrolet of Joe Nemechek, and now it's Roush Cars 1-2 once again. But instead of Biffle on point, it is Matt Kenseth with Carl Edwards. The ebb and flow of this race will be hard to keep up with. As Darrell said, Larry, there'll be comers and there'll be goers.
The Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q, is brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, proud sponsors of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the number 8 car. Earnhardt Jr. having some problems once again in California.
Yeah, listen, just before we came out and he had that flat tire, he came out of the pits 25th, and this is what it cost him right now. He's currently 40th. Plus, he's already 2 laps down and trying to get his way back up here on the lead. And this is going to be really a tough road for these guys to kind of overcome this today.
Junior's best finish 3rd here. That was in 2001, but in 2002, remember, he hit the wall at over 150 miles per hour, later suffering a concussion. Let's talk about Matt Kenseth pushing up to the front. You talked, you and I, with his crew chief, Robbie Reiser, earlier in the day in the garage area. Here's a guy who dropped out of the top 10 in points for the first time since week 2 of the 2003 season after that 42nd place finish at Daytona.
Yeah, that's definitely trying to rebound. Looked like he got a pretty strong race car right now, but you also notice how the 99 car is really gaining on him. Carl Edwards, which is his teammate, is gaining on him. We also see the 5 car of Kyle Busch, our pole sitter, had gotten his way back up to the top 10, but now he's having trouble once again. And Jamie McMurray in the 42 car has passed him.
Kevin Harvick has certainly moved his way up as well. Larry?
Yeah, I mean, Kevin started back in 31st position. You heard our guys earlier say how much they worked on this type of racetrack. They were very good in winter testing, and now he's knocking on the door of the top 10.
I think everybody has figured out this I need to lead 5 points.
Be patient, man, patient.
Certainly Carl
You
Edwards
are the leader of the race, Carl. You are the leader.
Yes, he is.
I tell you, that's a great sound when you've worked, especially a young man like him, knowing you're leading a big race like this. You just passed a former champ, and that kid right there has got stars in his eyes.
There's stars in Matt Yoakum's pit.
Jimmy Johnson's pit, Mike Lovejoy is loaded with stars. Over my shoulder, Jamie Lynn Descalia from The Sopranos, and also Nick Lachey, star of his own reality show, and a singer. This is not your first time here. You're a repeat NASCAR fan.
Yeah, this is actually my second race. I enjoyed the first one so much. I wanted to come back, experience it all again, and I thought concerts were loud. This is the loudest thing I've ever been in my life. It's insane.
Why does racing excite you so much?
Well, you know what? I mean, guys, we're testosterone junkies. There's so much adrenaline out there right now, and just the noise, the sound, the speed. What's not to like? It's too fast.
And Nick also does have a team radio, and he's listened to the conversation with the driver Jimmy Johnson and crew chief Chad Knaus. And Chad just heard Jimmy say that the car is better at the beginning of the run, making a lot of headway. They feel like, though, they still have to go a little more in the air pressure direction, Mike.
Jimmy is in 5th place as we watch the number 9 of Casey Kane move up on our pole sitter, Kyle Busch, and bring the 29 of Kevin Harvick with him.
I think it is a lot of the noise, though, is what attracts so many people to this sport. The sound of a V8 engine with a carburetor on it turning 10,000 RPM is a beautiful thing to a gearhead. And I'm a gearhead, and it thrills me to death.
Tony Stewart back in 21st spot. Remember, he started the day last due to a transmission change. But, Steve, is there more to that story?
There may be, Mike. He just radioed into his crew and says, we may have a problem with our right front tire. Be ready.
Yesterday in the Busch Series race, Tony had a problem right near the end of the race, problem with the rear end of the car that he first diagnosed as perhaps a tire going down, but the tires all looked up. Something, though, happened at the back of the car to put him in the fence right at the end.
I think I heard him say on the radio it was a track bar mount. And why it was confusing him was that feels like a flat tire because the rear end housing is actually swaying in the back of the car, much like the feel of a flat tire.
Here comes Gordon.
Jeff Gordon in the 24 car, remember, not a very good qualifying run on Friday, and he's working on his teammate Kyle Busch right now. That would be for about the 14th position. Rusty Wallace in the 2 just went by Kyle Busch in the 5 just a few seconds ago. And I know Rusty, he was coming to this racetrack with a lot of confidence. Remember, he won here 2 or 3 years ago. They felt good about the new Dodge Charger with the downforce that we've been talking about so much. Felt good about his chances and the way his car drove on Friday.
Yeah, Rusty's had some great runs here, and, you know, it's always in the top 10.
The 2001 winner, Rusty Wallace. Dale Jarrett is in 16th place. Started in 7th. Steve?
Yeah, Mike, he is complaining of a really tight race car. They made an air pressure adjustment on the last stop, and Dale said that is taking that air out is doing exactly what it did yesterday. It's not good. Crew Chief Mike Ford told me this morning they really have to work on Dale Jarrett, even though he has over 20 years in the sport as a driver, to get him relaxed. He doesn't do a great job of driving until he's relaxed inside that race car.
But I think that information from yesterday, the Busch race, Dale hadn't run a Busch race since '99. I really think that's going to pay off for the team in the long run.
2 spots behind Jarrett. Well, 1 spot back, Sterling Marlin, the Coors Light Dodge, and then the pedigree Ford of Elliott Sadler on the right side of your screen. Sadler currently in 18th position, 17 seconds behind the leader. And here's a look at his day so far.
And then just to follow up a teeny bit with Dale Jarrett, most of the time older drivers have a hard time getting, they got to be comfortable to perform. They can't what we call drive-through situations. Cars got to be just the way they want it for them to perform well. Looks like the 41 car coming on pit road.
Casey Mears.
It is.
And this would be an unscheduled pit stop.
Don't see any apparent damage on this side.
And we're getting a report that he maybe has trash on the grill. We've seen that so much here. The wind's blowing around so much, and of course that covers up the radiator inlet, hurts the airflow into the radiator. And there you see it right there. They're going to take a grill brush and clean it off under this pit stop. We're deep enough into this run. This is a good move by crew chief Jimmy Elledge. Let's go ahead and fill it up with fuel and just change 4 tires. Now you see the tire carrier up there, get it off, and that'll hopefully cool the water back down.
And I think some of these guys were watching yesterday, Larry, again, the Busch race. Remember, Greg Biffle melted his to the ground, and you got to get that off there. You can't let that temperature get over about 250 very long.
And you know, Darrell, what I'm seeing and hearing, I think we have so much a product of the procedure here, is a lot of the guys that qualified good. You had to have your car good and snug, good and tight, to be up under you to run that fast lap. And I think now a lot of them are suffering from that. Their car will not turn. It's too tight here in the race.
Yeah, it's pretty much the history of this joint right here, though. It's always been a place where you feel like you got aero push or just plain old push, period.
Rusty.
The left side air pressure adjustment for Jeff Gordon really helped. In fact, Robbie Loomis told me today they really feel like this race is a huge experiment. He said normally we start making our conclusions on Friday and Saturday. We sit down Sunday morning, Jeff and myself. We make our final hard decisions of what we want to do. Now you've got to make those decisions before qualifying. Robbie Loomis told me I'm still a little nervous, but that air pressure adjustment helped. In fact, Jeff said the car started out a lap better at the beginning of the run, but it's still a little tight in the center.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a learning curve for everyone. I talked to some crew chiefs on Friday, top crew chiefs in the garage area, and they asked me, said, what do you think other crew chiefs are going to do? How are they going to handle this procedure with all of our practice, even for the race, being before qualifying?
Larry, again, talking about Robbie Loomis. Got a chance to talk to him this morning, and he said, man, I feel like a fish out of water, because normally about 9:30, 10 o'clock, that's when he and Jeff are putting the final touches on their race car for the day's race, adjusting for the weather and whatever last-minute decisions are made. Today, he was having to hold his breath, and he didn't know exactly how it was going to shake out. So far, it looks like the cream's rising to the top one more time. The good crew chiefs and the guys that can communicate and work on their race car, they're the ones that's making it their way to the front. The other guys are sliding back.
Mark Martin in 6th place right now. Yesterday's winner in the Busch Series, 6.5 seconds behind the leader. Jeannie?
He assured me, by the way, that he did have his sandwich prior to getting in the car. He actually took a snack break during the rain delay yesterday. Not looking for that today. The weather clear. Mark Martin not real pleased with his car. Looking ahead to the next stop, he said, I cannot be any looser. It needs a little more grip. So the tire pressure adjustment conversation has started. And by the way, guys, you were dead on about Casey Mears. About 10 laps ago, they noticed the trash. He tried desperately to get up next to some of his teammates to knock it off. But yes, when the water temperature started to hit right around 250, they thought, yeah, we better come in and take care of this.
I mean, these guys, they're so aggressive with tape on the nose of these cars because you get the best of both worlds of aero. It reduces the drag on the straightaways and plants the nose in the corner, so you're aggressive anyhow. And then when a little piece of paper blocks up part of the opening, the water temperature really goes up.
Dale Jr. already 1 lap down with a flat left front tire. Now he's
2. Come on down. Come on down.
Yeah.
Left front again.
You just got a flat, Jim?
Yeah.
Darrell, normally when you have a tire,
Same tire. Tearing the fender up now.
Now this is trouble because the tire started to disintegrate and rip up the fender.
But when you have the same tire over and over, it makes you believe something is rubbing that tire. We have the caution out, it's for debris from that tire. Something like a sway bar arm or something maybe is rubbing that tire and making it go flat.
It looks, Larry, just by looking at the tire, they are really aggressive on camber. The thing looks like it's really, really leaned way out on the left front, which could be eating the inside or the eating the edge of the tire up.
Which is done to really help the car turn.
Turn, yeah.
Yeah, that tire is coming apart.
You can see rubber hitting the hood, how it's vibrating around, and that was the hope, is to get to pit road without ripping that fender off, because then your day would be a long day.
Jack Roush has got to be pleased. He has 5 cars in this race. They're all in the top 7. You're watching the Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q. Pit stops under caution. The order of the day. Carl Edwards came in first. Jeff Green stayed out on track, probably to lead a lap, and Matt Kenseth wins the race off pit road.
And the best I can tell, the real loser again on this pit stop was Greg Biffle. He came in 6th, and he maybe went out about 12th.
I think the big winner is going to be the 24 car. Looks like he's going to be up there in about 5th or 6th. Well, maybe not. But he made some gains.
Steve?
Mike, that caution could have been a big break for Tony Stewart. Remember, I said he had a vibration. It had not getting better. Right now, I'm hearing Greg Zipadelli saying the tires are okay. We think we had a loose wheel. Greg Zipadelli just telling that to Tony Stewart. So, again, that was a big break, that caution coming for Tony Stewart.
Still see a lot of work going on Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's been in the pits this whole time, and right now he is 3 laps down. So he has his work cut out for him.
Let's update pit stops under this caution. First to Matt.
And the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy told crew chief Chad Knaus, free me up on entry, tighten me up off. They made a chassis adjustment, track bar, also possibly shuffled the air pressure. Meanwhile, a great stop by Matt Kenseth's team. He had a great stop, chassis adjustment. Matt said, you've got to make my car better from the middle of the run to the end of the run. I'll live with it at the beginning. Dick?
Carl Edwards was reminded by his crew chief Bob Osborne, don't speed, as he drove down pit road, and after a fine pit stop, he was told again, don't speed. No changes whatsoever to Edwards' car, which is performing flawlessly. Joe Nemechek had complained about having a lack of grip in the right front corner of his car. They made an adjustment at the back end of that car and sent him off with 4 fresh tires. Meanwhile, a 16 of Biffle, reason for the long stop, they pulled the rubber out of the left rear. Jeannie?
Well, our reigning Cup champ, number 97, Kurt Busch, coming in 4th with a tight car. So he called for some air pressure adjustments to the both front tires there and a track bar adjustment as well. And as for the 6th of Mark Martin, Mark saying, hey, the balance isn't far off. It just doesn't seem to have what the front guys have. We'll keep working on it. Matt?
Pete Rondeau, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief, talking on the radio. His crew waiting for Junior to make his way back. Possibly going to work on a fender brace in that left front corner.
Now, Jeff Green stayed on track, but he did not lead a lap. Jeremy Mayfield also stayed out, so Mayfield is the leader. Back to Matt.
4 tires on.
And
Have that stuff ready for him, guys.
Calling out the orders to the Bud guys as they're waiting for Dale Earnhardt Jr. to make his way down pit road. Steve Neal on the radio warning Jr. of a cleanup truck down on the bottom. They've got a screw gun, going to try to make some repairs underneath that left front fender. 2 left front tires so far cut down for Dale Earnhardt Jr. And you can see the rub on the sidewall of both tires.
And they have fender braces that hold those fenders in shape and in place, and it almost sounds like that maybe what was going on with the left front of the Budweiser car is the fact that brace has been rubbing that left front tire, making it go down.
Yeah, a lot of times the tire changers and the guys will tug on those fenders a little bit, trying to pull them out a little bit more, and may have pulled one loose.
Also in the pits is Mayfield, who surrenders the lead to Jeff Green in the Cheerios Dodge.
But he got his 5 points.
Right now, somebody should be sending screws to the outside right now.
And what they're doing, that you heard Matt talk about a screw gun, that's something that almost like what you put a mobile home together with, and it's, you don't have to really have a lot of tools to do it. And they're drilling holes, they're putting pop rivets in there, they're using the screw gun to put screws
And them screws to the outside.
Try to support that fender without that brace there. Evidently, they just went ahead and removed that brace that holds the fender in place.
Troubles for Junior. Caution out at lap 63. You're watching the Auto Club 500, presented on Fox by Q.
Your leader at the Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q from the California Speedway. In fact, Jack Roush Racing, 4 of his 5 drivers have led today, including Kenseth at the moment, and the aerial photos of the California Speedway provided by Quaker State. Get ready to go green. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Every time I hear Q, I think Desmond Llewellyn's going to bring Sean Connery some new trick weapon, but that Q is Quaker State. All right, 65 laps complete. The Roush cars in and out first. Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards right with him. Then it's Joe Nemechek Chevy, Kurt Busch in another Roush Ford, Jimmy Johnson Chevy, and Mark Martin, number 6, in position 6.
What do you think? For all our troops overseas, the ones that just came back home, let's crank it up one time.
15th ever Nextel Cup start. Carl Edwards is leading for the second time. He led 15 laps last fall in Atlanta. Graduate of the Craftsman Truck Series, not eligible to run for Rookie of the Year because he ran too many Cup races last year since taking over the 99 from Jeff Burton. And Greg Biffle has either been in front of the field or he's been the eye of the storm pretty much all day.
And it seems like what keeps putting him in the eye of the storm is he's battling Bobby Labonte in the 18. That's a battle back there for about 19th. Is when he comes to pit road. For whatever reason, they are having a lot of problems on pit road.
I think they're working on the car, Larry. I think they're making adjustments.
I know who's making adjustments too. Matt Kenseth in his 17 car. He's side by side with his teammate Carl Edwards. This will be for the lead. Look at this. I love this. Look at this wide racetrack. And their teammate Kurt Busch, our current champion in the 97, he's right back there in the mix. It's Joe Nemechek versus 3 Roush cars. Nemechek in the 01.
13 lead changes among 10 different drivers in the first 69 laps of this race.
Now, if you're an owner, this is the way a multi-car team operation is supposed to work right here, because everybody's car looks pretty equal.
I'll tell you, another car just keeps getting better and better. Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car, his group continues to shine on pit road during pit stops. He's up there in the 5th position, the Lowe's car.
You don't think that would have anything to do with where his pit box is, do you, Larry?
Seems to be a plus every time they pick that pit box. First one coming in.
Edwards, the 99, getting muscled back to 4th, just in front of Johnson. Kenseth, Nemechek, Busch, the new front 3.
You know, Edwards had a good run here last night in the Busch race, finished 6th, so he's got a little track time. He's got a lot of confidence. One thing I heard his crew chief tell him a minute ago when he was leaving pit road, watch your speed. What a rookie's got to be careful of exuberance, you know. Don't beat yourself. You got a good race car, take your time, don't beat yourself.
Darrell, the reason right now I think he's getting beat, we saw it right there looking back at Jimmy Johnson in the 48, is these guys are able to pick the throttle up sooner than Carl Edwards in the 99, and they can stay in the throttle. And it carries all the way down these long straightaways, that extra speed that you have by picking up the throttle sooner.
Dick Berggren has more.
Well, Carl hasn't said a word about how the race car is running other than to compliment its behavior today. His spotter, however, Bobby Hudson, is playing the role of psychologist and telling him to drive careful, drive smooth, don't worry, we're going to get him. Anytime anybody gets near Edwards and makes a move and gets by him, he says, don't worry, everything's going to be just fine, we're doing great. And they are. They're doing very, very well today with the psychologist on top of the grandstand and a driver having his career best day on the speedway.
Sharp career and a fine day for Edwards. Let's talk about some drivers who've had trouble. Bill Elliott crashed. He is out of the event. Randy LaJoie has retired. Problems for Ricky Rudd. 8 laps down. Kevin LePage 7 laps back. Casey Mears 1 lap down, along with Scott Riggs, made late pit stops at the end of that caution. Riggs to top off and pull out a right front fender. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. 4 laps down in 39th place, Jeff, after multiple problems with the left front.
Mike, what seems to be going on with the left front tire of Dale Earnhardt's car happens to be maybe a camber issue. You look here at the left front of this tire, they believe maybe they have a little too much camber and they're wearing the tire out. Well, when they came in the last time, we saw them working to try to repair the left front fender. It's really important to try to maintain the integrity of this left front fender if you want to make your car work any at all on this really high-speed racetrack. What they were doing was actually trying to replace these braces that are underneath inside of the front nose that tie back in to the front of the fender, because if you lose these braces, it'll be flopping around in the wind and you'll never get any downforce on the front tire at all. Again, that'll just complicate the problems that he's already found on the racetrack so far today. So they were making repairs, putting these braces back in after that last time this left front tire came apart.
Yeah, when that first tire came apart, I'm sure it knocked all the braces loose underneath there. That probably added to the problem and caused that second tire to get cut down.
But Darrell, going back to what Bobby Hudson, Carl Edwards' spotter, the 99, and Bob Osborne as crew chief, this is a 500-mile race. What you want to do is just stay within striking distance of that leader and continue to make smart moves, right adjustments, be there at the end.
A race like this runs in 3 parts. You got the opening act. You get yourself in the position, kind of where am I, what do I got to do? Then for the middle of the play, kind of ride along here and talk to your crew, analyze everything. But then you get ready for the grand finale, when everybody's going to come on stage at one time and take a big bow. Hopefully you'll be the star of the show.
Sounds like you're headed for the Oscars tonight, too.
Tell you what, Jamie McMurray, I've been watching his progress. Remember, he qualified back in 15th. He's been slowly but surely reeling those guys in. He's up to the 7th position. Another one of those guys that ran the Busch race yesterday and learned a little bit about this racetrack that he could take back to Donnie Wingo, his crew chief in that race team.
Yeah, it's not so much you learn what to do, you learn a lot of what not to do's. You know, air pressure is so critical, up and down. Too far down, it doesn't drive good. Too far up, it doesn't drive good. So you kind of find that happy medium.
Matt Kenseth up front. Tracking him is Joe Nemechek, Ford versus Chevy. Here's Matt.
He has the Army in his mirror, but Kenseth has pulled out to almost a full second lead over second place. Now, he was commenting before the last stop about how his car compared to his teammate Carl Edwards' car. Matt didn't feel like his car turned as well. That's why they made the chassis adjustment. But it was his team that performed a flawless stop that got him off pit road, and Matt made note of it.
Boy, just watch.
Chevy guys, I tell you what, this pit road deal's a lot different now that everybody can't cheat. All of a sudden, your guys' pit stops are showing up here. Good job. Big difference when everybody's not pulling out their box and staying on the gas to pass you.
And on the restart, Larry Mack, why he lost the first position, he keyed the mic and said, we haven't had a car vapor lock in 3 years. I don't know why, but it just vapor locked. Now he's motored back out in the front.
Well, and what he's talking about vapor locking, it has to do with the fuel. And a lot of times it's like when you pour gasoline on asphalt, the gasoline will evaporate. And when he's talking about the vapor, it's almost like steam coming up, and the car will surge with it, and that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw Hot Spots or not. I think you probably watched it. I hope everybody did. That fuel pump that they're running in the trunk of the car now that's cable driven, you would never have another vapor lock problem. That is a consistently driven with a cable off the back of the oil pump, and it has a lot of advantages, and that's one of them.
But interesting, his comments, back to his comments about the pits, is they feel like, Robbie Reiser, Matt Kenseth, Robbie as crew chief, that the pit road speed is now the equalizer. No one can take advantage of shooting into their pit box or accelerating out because it's electronically being monitored by NASCAR. Now the top pit crew will rise back to the top, not how good the driver gets in and gets out.
And a final word on fuel pumps. A lot of racing series run electric fuel pumps. NASCAR does not permit them. They feel, and I agree, it's a safety issue. If the engine stops running, NASCAR wants that pump to stop pumping.
Yeah, and that Waterman pump, it's cable driven. When the motor quits, it quits.
79 laps complete in the Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q.
Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q, is brought to you by FedEx, proud sponsor of the number 11 car. By Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff. And by Mountain Dew, drink up, throw down. 84 laps through, Matt Kenseth leading. We've had 10 different leaders, 13 lead changes, and a couple of cautions. Bill Elliott, Randy LaJoie out of the race. Matt Kenseth trying to win his first race since Las Vegas of last year, and Jeff Hammond, much has been made of Jack Roush. His car is right now 4 in the top 10. Talk about how the teamwork between those cars works even this early in the race.
What you're looking at right there is where these guys have gone in after all the different practice sessions. Robbie Reiser, Jimmy Finnick, the whole crew chief corps, along with all the engineers, they get together, they compare notes, and they try to figure out what the best combination is and try to put it all in these cars every time they go on the racetrack.
Incredibly high speeds and getting a little intense, as you see John Andretti most recently with Bobby Hamilton Jr. Let's show you how he got the mark on his car.
Yeah, you can see right there, all of a sudden Bobby Hamilton comes up off the bottom of the racetrack and gets into the side of John Andretti and basically just shoves him up into the outside wall, and that's not going to be doing John any good or Bobby Hamilton Jr.
You know, a couple of guys back in the pack. Michael Waltrip running 17th. Go ahead, Jeff.
This is the in-car camera here. You see that Bobby Hamilton Jr. came up, and John Andretti really just ran out of, had no other place to go. Just got shoved up into that outside wall.
And reaching speeds of up to 190, 200 miles per hour, depending upon where they are. Bobby Labonte currently 21st. Michael Waltrip 17th. Guys that didn't do well in the opener that need to run well here, and they're hanging in there.
They're hanging there definitely for sure. As we get a glimpse right now of Ryan Newman going under one of Roush's cars. That's Kurt Busch, our 2004 Cup champion. And looks like maybe the Hamlin package is going away a little bit on that 97 car.
Real tight, it's asking me to take the left rear rubber off, but I know my right front.
And you can hear right now there's communication going on between Kurt Busch and Jimmy Fennick. And I believe, Jenny, you're down there with them, aren't you?
Yes, sir, I am. And you're right, the handling is starting to go away a little bit on the 97 of Kurt Busch because of one reason. Handful of laps back, Kurt came on the radio and said, I'm pretty sure I brushed the wall in turn 4. There's some slight damage to the right front fender, and what it's caused is the car to really tighten up.
Well, if he brushed the wall, our pole sitter, 19-year-old Kyle Busch, in his first California Cup race, slapped it. Watch the outside wall.
And that's so common for here, Darrell. You're carrying so much speed around this racetrack, and we've heard all these cars not wanting to turn. You just run out of racetrack.
Yeah, so as you saw the safer barrier there, these guys have lost about 36 inches of racing surface. So the tires go off, the car starts sliding around. Hello, walls.
And Steve, he is backed up now to 24th place.
Yeah, Mike, he was up into 14th, but a minute ago he just called his crew chief Alan Gustafson, and said, I just killed the right side of this race car. Now remember, early in the race, guys, they were on the tight side. They made an aggressive track bar adjustment, and it got his car too free. He's now too loose in the center of the corners. Earlier, Jeff Hammond talked about crew chief and driver communication. Alan Gustafson and Kyle Busch use a scale from 1 to 5. Alan Gustafson said, how was that track bar adjustment? Kyle Busch said it was a 2, and it just put the 5 into the wall.
See, a young driver would overdrive his car. He'll go over the edge. An experienced driver will drive it to the edge and wait for something to happen, bring it back to you.
But when you're 19 years old, you have to go over that edge to know where it is.
That's right.
And Darrell and Larry, as you can see, when Kyle Busch came off that corner, the back end was trying to kick out even then, and he was trying to chase it up the racetrack. But Larry Mack, you know, when you come to a racetrack like California Speedway, you do any damage to either the left front fender or the right front fender, it's going to seriously hurt the handle of your race car, because keeping the noses shaped the way they need to on these cars is so important.
Yeah, Jeff, I mean, we've been talking about the speeds of these cars. Entering the corners, we're riding with Jeff Burton right here in this corner, 190, 195 miles per hour. The first thing the air sees is those front fenders, and if they're distorted in any type of way, it's going to vastly affect the way that car handles.
So while 19-year-old Kyle Busch has fallen back in this race, the leader of the Hendrick Motorsports pack is coming on. Darrell, Jeff Gordon right now stands 11th, and he's knocking on the door of the top 10 after starting today 28th.
Yeah, he's been moving forward and done a great job in the pits, and that car looks like it's handling really well for him. He's holding the thing right on the bottom of the racetrack, getting up off the corner. You see him closing up on Rusty here a little bit as he accelerates off turn 4. Car looks good.
Yeah, it's taken him almost 100 laps from that bad qualifying effort, but he's about to crack the top 10.
Matt's in his pit.
In the modern era, only 2 drivers have ever started off the year winning the first 2 races. David Pearson, the Silver Fox, back in '76, and Jeff Gordon in '97. Gordon really on the move, but he did tell crew chief Robbie Loomis, what we did on the last stop did not help. The car is still tight in the center of the corner, and I am really fighting it on entry and especially exit. I'm really noticing it the most down in turns 3 and 4, and what they did on that last stop was make a track bar and air pressure adjustment.
Well, guys, even with the shorter rear spoiler we've been talking about as he's all over the back of Rusty Wallace on the 2 car trying to get to 10th position, is it just sounds like that the more rubber gets on this racetrack, the more the track temperature comes up, that the more the front wheels want to slide.
See how careful Jeff had to be getting into the corner? Now that's where these cars really get light in the back. When you go down in a turn beside someone or underneath someone. And Rusty doesn't look like he's hurting for straightaway speed.
Well, and he looked like he was able to get up off the corner a little better than Jeff Gordon. Had a little momentum off turn 2.
A little higher line helped him.
This is where Jeff Gordon in the 24 prevailed on the last lap here off turn 4. If he can maintain this down this front straightaway and win the battle into turn 1 with that shorter rear spoiler, Darrell, it's kind of iffy being on the inside of a car going off into turn 1.
Yeah, and this is when Jeff Gordon's saying, what is he thinking? We got a long way to go. Why didn't he let me get on by? I'm faster than he is. I caught him.
Well, and this right here battling for 10th, they're about 15 seconds behind our leader, Matt Kenseth, and as they battle side by side, that lead will grow.
Yeah, well, I know, you know, you don't want to let anybody go, but...
well, you can see how quick Greg Biffle in the 16 car closed on those guys, and he's actually about to go around.
Yeah, and now he's going to say, what are you guys doing? I'm faster than you. I caught you, didn't I?
Yeah.
94 laps complete in the Auto Club 500 as John Andretti makes an unscheduled pit stop. We'll be right back. Coming up on 100 laps, 200 miles, Matt Kenseth, Joe Nemechek, Jimmie Johnson, Mark Martin, Carl Edwards out front. Problems for Ryan Newman, perhaps. Newman in early, and now Kyle Busch comes to pit road with a bit of right side damage.
Quite a bit of right side damage.
Yeah, from when he slapped the wall earlier, but Newman's Alltel Dodge came in. I don't know, Larry, it looked like a little early for a scheduled stop, didn't it?
Well, I think he felt like he maybe had a tire going down. You'll see him come to pit road right here to get those 4 tires. Steve, he maybe had a flat tire.
That's exactly right, Larry Mack. He radioed in on lap 97. He said, my right front tire's going down, right front. So they came right to pit road, and team looking at it now, and a Goodyear engineer looked at it just moments ago.
Well, now he was on pit road at lap 97. The good thing about that is right now here at lap 100, we're only about 8 to 10 laps away from scheduled pit stop. But what Ryan Newman in the 12 and Kyle Busch in the 5, they needed to cycle through those green flag pit stops because caution would be their worst enemy right now.
You know, these tires are softer, so that makes them a little stickier. And they're going to be more accessible to picking up pieces of stuff that could cut the tire down.
Mark Martin, yesterday's winner in a Busch Series race that had a record number of caution laps here and even a red flag for rain, during which Mark hopped out of the car, had a sandwich, had some chips, climbed back in, drove it to victory lane.
Didn't slow him down any, that's for sure.
Right now, Mark in 4th place behind Matt Kenseth, Joe Nemechek, and Jimmie Johnson.
Right there you could see how much better 4 fresh tires were versus 40-lap tires. Kyle Busch in the 5 just drove right by Mark Martin in the 6, and Mark's running in the 4th position.
Good day so far for Roush Racing. Matt Kenseth out front, and Carl Edwards, their rookie from out of the Truck Series, sitting in 5th place.
We'll fix you up on the next stop and you'll be styling again.
Just remember what Bob said. We'll get you better the next stop. Can't win every segment.
Sir, I understand.
Remember too, Bob, this thing may get looser as we go with the weather.
Yes, 10-4.
I like what's going on here. Bob Osborne is the crew chief. He's in the pits. He's the head coach. Bobby Hudson is up top. He's a spotter. He's the defensive and the offensive coordinator, tying everything together between Carl Edwards and Bob Osborne. They're just reassuring each other about what they have.
Dick Berggren's in his pit.
Yeah, and Carl Edwards is listening very carefully to what both of them are saying, Larry McReynolds. And a while back, about 15 or 18 laps ago, when the 99 of Edwards was running in 4th spot, he was told by Hudson that the 6th of Mark Martin was going to pass him. Keep an eye on that veteran's line, Hudson said. There may be something in it for you. The problem that Edwards is struggling with right now is that the car is very loose. He sure got a good look at Mark Martin's line, but it didn't help him. He still is sliding back. They're going to have to tighten the car up on the pit stop that's soon to come.
And see, that's the things that are going on during a race. You know, you look at the cars going around and you say, well, what are they doing? There is constant chatter between the driver, the crew chief, and the spotter. So much information is being fed to the driver trying to help him get around the racetrack better. So much information about pit strategy, keeping the driver calm and informed.
We're getting into the fuel window. Jeremy Mayfield stopped 2 laps ago, and last lap you saw Robbie Gordon make his pit stop in the Harris Chevy, and the number 11 of Jason Leffler has also made a green flag stop. But Leffler is going to get a penalty for too fast on pit road, and he'll have to do a drive-through. Here's Terry Labonte in the pit lane.
I mean, we saw this all day long at Daytona, especially under green flag stops. Pit road speed is 55 miles per hour. Remember, these cars, they do not have a speedometer, but they have to get that tach reading on their tachometer before the race behind the pace car, and that tells them what RPMs they should be turning. Now, pass-throughs basically down pit road at 55 miles per hour. You do not have to stop in your pit box, but it'll put you almost a lap down here.
Yeah, I got a feeling he won't be the only one who gets a ticket.
Greg Biffle on pit road, Dick.
4,800 RPM. He was told by Doug Richard, his crew chief, so much focus on not speeding on pit road after 11 cars got caught last year. The crew is doing a good job on pit road, but they have had to make a collection of adjustments on this car to try to get the chassis squared away. This time, no adjustments other than tires. Nice stop for Biffle.
All right, boy, the caution is out. This is going to burn a lot of people that just made their green flag pit stops.
Like Kurt Busch, whose service is being completed right now.
Well, maybe not. If he can get out, where's the leader, Larry?
All right, just remember, the field is frozen right now. What Kurt Busch in the 97 would have to do is he has to get by the pit outline before the leader gets there, and he would stay on the lead lap because the field is frozen. Remember, you hold your position when the caution comes out.
Yeah, he may have. I think he lucked out. I think that's off the 77 car.
Or is it off?
Mars might be off the 8. Another left front tire.
Matt Kenseth has just crossed the start-finish line, so cars that cleared pit road before he got there will stay on the lead lap. That hard hammer work continues on Junior's left front, but how about Matt Kenseth, who has been out in front for much of this race? Kenseth has a history of winning early in the season. In 2002, he won 5 times, including the second race of the year at Rockingham. In 2003, he won the 3rd race of the year at Vegas, and last year he won the 2nd and 3rd race of the year, Rockingham and Las Vegas.
Now we have 2 scenarios when the caution comes out. One is the people that would be pitting on this side of pit road. As long as they beat the leader across this line, which is the start-finish line, continuing on to pit road, as long as they beat the leader there, they will stay on the lead lap. The other scenario is everyone that's pitted along here, that turn 1 side of start-finish line, what they have to do to stay on the lead lap in case of Kurt Busch in the 97 is beat the leader to that line. This line goes across the racetrack basically right there, so you have 2 different scenarios.
And what that does is minimize the effect of what pit you pick having an effect of trapping you under the caution. A new rule for this year.
Troubles continue.
When it's not your day.
It almost reminds me of their troubles at Las Vegas about this time 1 year ago.
Here's Matt.
And Jimmy Johnson's crew chief Chad Canals just warned him, make sure you give yourself a good exit because the 8 car will be there. They're going to pull a windshield tear off the 48 car. Also, they're going to work on his tight condition. Upper left-hand corner, Matt Kenseth in. He says his car is better when it is tight. Dick, the racetrack has lost a lot of grip. They're giving it the same. A little bit of trouble on the left rear, but he's away.
Joe Nemechek in. He had been in 2nd position. Absolutely no changes to the car. Hard, he's being told, Jeannie.
Well, the 6 car, Mark Martin, started this last run loose. Gosh, dog loose, to quote Mr. Martin. Cars really coming around to the point there were no adjustments this last stop, just fuel and tire, Steve.
GD Kasey Kahne was in the top 10, but he said his car was way too loose. He said he could not arc the car. He also said when he hit the gas in the corner, the RPMs were shooting up and he was spinning the tires. He said the balance wasn't good on the car either. They made a chassis adjustment for Kasey Kahne and 4 tires.
Joe Nemechek's crew reacts, sends him off ahead of Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, baby.
That's a good feeling there.
Yeah, baby.
Something these boys work all winter to beat their competitors off pit road on pit stops.
Welcome back to the Auto Club 500 here on Fox, presented by Q, and we have gone 110 laps. Front row Joe Nemechek has taken the lead after the recent series of pit stops off of pit road. Look at how close this is. Nemechek edging past Matt Kenseth to get the lead, pushing the young drivers back, and the crew reaction part of the team.
I mean, that's what it's all about right there. Those guys right there, that's their moment. And right now they have shined. They've done their job. And that's how they kind of celebrate. If we take a look at Ryan Pemberton, who's the crew chief on the 01 car for Nemechek.
U.S. Army, pretty good team to root for. Young Guns, Matt Kenseth, who's led the most laps today, currently running second. And you can play the Gillette Young Guns $1 million watch and win game. Find game pieces on specially marked Gillette Oral-B and Duracell products. This week, the Gillette Young Guns winning code number and letter WKFC 5A. That's WKFC 5A. Visit GilletteYoungGuns.com for the details, rules, and find out how to get a free game piece. Well, Roush Racing, we've talked about Jack Roush. All 5 of his drivers have led today. We talked to him in Daytona, and he said this was the best group of drivers that he's ever had. You throw in a young Carl Edwards with guys like Kurt Busch and Kenseth who have won championships, and it's proven to be right.
Oh, he really has so far. I mean, Kenseth has been extremely strong today, but let's take a look at the guys running in third place right now. Mark Martin, being his last year, he has been so impressive so early on, having a great run at Daytona, winning yesterday. But probably more importantly, when we got a chance to talk to Mark today, he said, I've got a good race car. If I can stay on the lead lap through about the first 3 sets of tires, man, I will be where I want to be. And right now, he's exactly on target to hit everything he wanted to do today and put this car in position to win.
His strategy when we talked to him in the garage was just that. And he said, hey, I have a top 5 car. By that 3rd set of tires, I'm up there. He is up there. We still have a long way to go. We're glad to have you along with us here from the California Speedway. So far, a good day for the U.S. Army team. Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q, is brought to you by Nextel. Go to foxsports.com to find out how you can be the Nextel Fan of the Week.
We're in the Nextel experience with a Nextel Fan of the Week, Brian Parsons, and his wife, Arissa. Why is this sport your passion, Brian?
Well, I love NASCAR. I love the speed. I love the adrenaline. It's the cars are bumping at 180 miles an hour. I love it.
And is this a special occasion for you guys?
Sure is. We're enjoying our time together. And this is actually for our birthday weekend celebration for Brian. And I'm 7 months pregnant, and this will be our last chance to get out and really enjoy it.
Well, congratulations. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Steve. If you'd like to be considered and appear as the Nextel Fan of the Week, go to foxsports.com Nextel and enter today. You could be next. 12 different leaders, 15 lead changes. And right now, Joe Nemechek hanging out as we're getting ready to go green. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Well, with green flag pit stops, we've got some cars on the tail end of the lead lap just in front of leader Joe Nemechek, and they are Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch, and Ryan Newman. We've also got Jeremy Mayfield and Terry Labonte, who made green flag stops, and they're just shy of being 2 down. They're a lap down on the inside. So you see Biffle right behind the pace truck, and then Nemechek, who is the leader of the race. Biffle and Busch, Newman, they're going to have to go to keep from getting lapped by the leader.
They really are, and we've been talking about Roush's cars, but I tell you, Joe Nemechek, he has been right there with them the whole race. Got a fast car. Remember, he won at Kansas City last year in a very similar racetrack. So don't be surprised if Joe stays up there and does pretty darn well today.
And I'm corrected. We have one scoring system showing Newman a lap down, one scoring system showing him on the tail end of the lead lap. We'll get him sorted out. Where he is lined up, he is in a lap down position on the inside.
So actually what Kurt Busch as well as Greg Biffle would like to see real quickly is a caution that would be back on the lead lap then.
Green flag.
See, we're almost halfway through the race. All the cars on the inside line, those are cars that are 1 or more laps down on the restart.
Well, you can bet one thing, when they're bunched up like this, there is always a chance for a caution.
Kyle Busch in the 5, 2 laps down. Trying to come up and get back in it. There's Mark Martin in tow. Mark is the 3rd place car. Genie.
tires are actually leaving a lot more rubber on the track, according to Kurt Busch. And then Mark Martin during this last stop desperately wanted a tear off. He wanted the windshield clean, but they wouldn't let another guy over the wall to help pull the tear off. Mark Martin saying this is very dangerous, quite honestly. You know, it's hard to see with all this debris left on the windshield. Matt?
Kevin Harvick on the bottom, bringing Jeff Gordon along, passing the 17 to Kenseth. Now Kevin Harvick has had a huge run today. Started 31st, made his way up to 10th in the last stop, picked up 4 stops on pit road. He said the car still a little loose on entry into 3, a little tight on entry into 1, but they are making big ground. This could be a big momentum-building kind of day that this team really needs.
Rusty Wallace started in 23rd position, but after that last round of pit stops, Rusty was in 7th spot. His pit crew is performing incredibly well, just as they did at Daytona. Every single pit stop Rusty Wallace has had has been for 4 tires, fuel, and every one has been under 14 seconds. 2 of them at 13.4. That's incredibly fast. He does have a bit of a problem under the hood. Water temperature up to 220.
And you know, the softer tire does create more rubber on the racetrack. We have not seen the guys like we have here last year run the really high line, get out there real high up next to the outside retaining wall. These soft tires are making the car stick to the bottom.
One of those bottom stickers. Oh, Matt Kenseth just drove hard into Jeff Gordon.
I think he was
had a big-time run.
Yeah, but Jeff was blocking him. You know, Jeff was pulling down and blocking him. He had a run on him, and I think Kenseth thought he would give him more room, and he did.
But this is a battle for 5th place right here. 3 Roush cars and Jeff Gordon in the 24. Look at this shot right here. 3 wide going off into turn 1 at 200 miles an hour.
I think Jeff is kind of making up for what he did going down the back. He rolled up high, let those guys get by.
Matt?
Mike, Jeff Gordon thinks he may have a left rear tire going down. Robbie Loomis crew keeps telling him, feel it out, just make sure you didn't pick up any kind of debris, which is giving you that sensation you got a tire going down. The guys are up on the wall waiting, if indeed he does have to pit.
No, he has a left rear quarter panel going down. That's what it was, where Matt rammed into him. That probably, he still thinks, he thinks that maybe he didn't know Matt was there, and he thinks his tire was going down. I don't know.
And Matt probably did think, I think that he's trying to block me down here. What is he doing?
Yeah, he did. It's a little wake-up call.
Let's see how Carl Edwards had a view of this.
Probably was wondering, what in the world are they doing?
Nah, rookies never wonder that. Rookie says, oh, so that's how you do it. So you were saying something about rookies a little while ago. What they don't know, they don't know.
Meanwhile, up front, Greg Biffle in 16, Kurt Busch in the 97. They're keeping that lead on actually our leader as we see Joe Nemechek, the 01, leading this race. And again, these guys are on the tail end of the lead lap. And the lines I was talking about before that caution, when those guys beat the leader to those lines, it kept them from going 2 laps down instead of just 1. But if we should get a caution, another beneficiary from it would be Ryan Newman in the 12 car. He would get the free pass because he's the first car 1 lap down behind our leader.
Jimmie Johnson running in 2nd. He has run up close to the lead today. But Johnson has not been among the 10 drivers who have led this race. Not yet. Bill Elliott brought out an early caution when he got into the wall down in turn number 1. Dale Jr. went 4 laps down when he cut down a tire on the left front, not once but twice. Debris came out, caution for him. Further debris a little later on, but only 2 cars out of this race, Randy LaJoie and Elliott. Ricky Rudd has had trouble, so has Kevin LePage. Jason Leffler had a penalty. He's 2 laps down, so is Robbie Gordon, Jeremy Mayfield, and John Andretti, along with pole sitter Kyle Busch and Terry Labonte. 1 lap down, Travis Quaffle, along with the 4 of Mike Wallace. A lap back, Casey Mears and Dave Blaney, along with Ryan Newman. Everybody else is on the lead lap.
to see Kasey Kahne here in the 9 car in the 4th position, and we were watching Kevin Harvick in the 29 car just in front of him. You heard Matt Yoakum talk about how happy he has been with that race car. That race team really focused on this type of racetrack because they stayed in the top 10 in points for a long time last year, but when they came here to Fontana in the fall, they finished 28. It kicked them out of the top 10, and it's almost like they never recovered from that run.
Mark Martin at 5th place. Right now, he is the best of the Fords, which have pretty much dominated today. Behind him, Carl Edwards in 6th place. He finished 6th here last fall. And another Roush Racing teammate of his, the man who's led the most laps today, Matt Kenseth. Here's Matt Yoakum.
And the 17 car may have some fender damage as well as a 24. Now, Robbie Reiser told Matt Kenseth, it looks good from the left side. Spotter Mike Kalanoff will take a look at the right side. But they are reporting to Matt that the car looks okay. He said, get some binoculars. Any small little dent will make a huge change. This race car is so sensitive. So the 17 may have a problem as well, Mike.
Well, Matt, Artie Kempner, our guys in the truck, they just gave us a great shot of the right front fender, and that right front fender definitely has some damage. I want to put a period on something from several laps ago. Matt reported about Matt Kenseth talking about he felt like his engine, the carburetor was vapor locking. I just want to make sure and do a good explanation of that. Simple but good. It's a heat-related problem, and there's nothing the driver can do about it. And it's a lot like when water turns to steam. For the motor to run, the fuel going through the carburetor has to be a solid, but if it vaporizes, it's like steam and the motor will surge. So it's because the fuel has got too hot for some reason.
A lot of heat generated under the hood of these cars, and those big sewer pipe exhausts that go down and out the side create a lot of heat as well. Halfway, 125 of 250 laps, 500 miles. Jeff Green.
Jeff Green slowed down the back. I tell you who wasn't slow down the front a little bit ago, though. He's got a left rear
tire flat.
Watch it. Carl Edwards, you know, we're talking to the spotter and everybody's telling him to be calm, be cool. He's coming down the front right here, racing along with Kyle Busch. And he gets a little aggravated or he gets a little irritated. I don't know what he does, but man, he runs up underneath him. That 5 car, watch this. Whoops, excuse me. I think he thought that Kyle was going to move down and let him go by.
Of course, Kyle Busch in the 5 car, he was our pole sitter, started on the inside the front row, but right now, due to a green flag stop and some other problems, he's 34th, 2 laps down.
That's one of those things the spotter was talking about. Don't beat yourself, dude.
All yours.
Jeff Green does not bring out a
report of debris on the back.
He made it to pit road. Cut down a tire. Not sure he dropped any debris. You heard one of the spotters saying that NASCAR is looking at the possibility of debris in the back straightaway.
Those guys right there, Kurt Busch and Greg Biffle, there's debris everywhere, man. They got to do something.
Not to mention Ryan Newman in the 12. We talked about him. If he could get a caution, he would get the free pass and back on the lead lap.
And the back straightaway is clear. No problem. We'll stay under green. We're just past halfway in the Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q.
Quick recap of things at the Auto Club 500. Kyle Busch, 19-year-old on the pole with Brian Vickers. Hendrick Motorsports up front. That's the way it started. But then Roush Racing. Greg Biffle said, I'll have the lead by lap 5, by lap 4. He did have it. Bill Elliott involved in a little bump and rub with Ricky Rudd moments earlier and then spins out. Elliott out of the race. He was okay. Dale Earnhardt Jr., well, okay physically, mentally frustrated. Left front tire, not once, but twice. At this point, 4 laps down, currently 9 laps off the lead in Roush Racing. All 5 of Jack Roush's drivers have led today. Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth among those. But right now, Joe Nemechek has the lead over Jimmy Johnson and Kasey Kahne as we've gone through 132 laps so far.
You're talking about being strong right now. Joe Nemechek is really flexing some muscle. And how about Kasey Kahne? We haven't said a whole lot about Kasey today, but here he is very quietly making his way up there in the 3rd place. along with the 29 car. There's Kevin Harvick and Kasey Kahne going at it, and he is right now, Kasey Kahne has been the highest up so far of the new Dodge Chargers here in California.
Jamie McMurray currently running 9th. Haven't talked about him much, but he's had a strong run. And Rusty Wallace, I mean, that's a pretty impressive group right there.
Yeah, it really is. And we keep talking about Rusty Wallace, and there's Mark Martin right now in the mix of this battle also. But these two veterans, I mean, they're really being very impressive and very competitive today.
Martin running 5th, the highest currently of the Roush cars, followed by Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth.
Well, right now in the upper left-hand corner, we're seeing Mike Chandler, who's a lieutenant commander for the United States Air Force Thunderbirds. And Chris, you know, a few years ago I got an opportunity to ride with this elite group, and tell you right now, they can give you one whale of a ride. It's a great group to be associated with.
And we welcome all of our troops across the globe. Appreciate what they do, and glad to have them watching on Armed Forces Television. Big NASCAR fans across the globe.
And they've got to be cheering right now as far as the military is concerned, because they're out front taking it away.
Joe Nemechek with the lead here. Matt Kenseth has led 57 laps. That's the most of the 10 drivers who have led. And Nemechek's been out front now for 26 laps. And Dale Jr.'s woes continue. This is going to be a 4-tire stop.
Junior, stay here. Go ahead, shut the motor off.
Because he's 9 laps down, back in 39th position.
Going under the hood. They're going to make some kind of big change here. What are they going to do, Larry?
They've got the hood up doing something. This looks like they're possibly still working on that fender brace over there in that fender, left front fender area.
Well, while that happens, let's go to the leaders pit. Here's Dick.
With Ryan Pemberton, he is crew chief for Joe Nemechek, who is in the lead. What's your strategy for the second half of the race?
Well, we'd like to just stay up front. Hopefully it goes long green runs here and, divides the field up. Things been working real well for us. Been able to stay up front, and I think that's really helped a lot. Pit crew's done a great job, so we'd like to see just about 2 more pit stops.
Everything's just right at the U.S. Army pit, Steve.
Well, Dick, we're down here at Kasey Kahne's pit. Tommy, you guys had a great pit stop. What is Kasey saying about that Dodge now?
We just don't have the Dodge Charger balance right now. We're just too free in, too tight off. It's hard to fix both things, so we're working on one thing and the other thing's getting worse. We don't have the balance right yet. Everyone's going to keep working hard. I think we definitely got a top 5 car right now, top 6 car. We just got to get better trying to win this race.
Matt Yocum.
Steve, you just saw Thunderbird 1, Mike Chandler, Lieutenant Colonel, watching Jimmie Johnson hanging out in second, 2.7 seconds back of leader Joe Nemechek. Now, he'll be happy to hear that Jimmie says the balance of the car is a lot better. They still have to work with the tight condition, but they are making ground. Right now, just biding the time. Chad Knaus formulating another game plan of what to do to this race car to make it even better and close in on Nemechek.
Joe Nemechek has just lapped Kurt Busch. At the top of the show, we talked about comers and goers. In the first 80 laps of this race, it was all Roush Racing Fords. And now, Darrell, it's all Chevrolet and Dodge.
Yeah, well, that's bad news for Kurt Busch. He got lapped. It's also bad news for Ryan Newman, who's a lap down. Now, if the cautions should come out, Kurt will get the free pass.
The free pass at the instant of caution goes to the first car 1 lap down. That was an acclamation to the drivers when NASCAR stopped racing back to the caution flag for safety reasons.
Guys, I know Joe Nemechek in the 01's leading, but I've been watching our scoring monitor. The fastest car on the racetrack the last few laps has been Mark Martin in his 6 car. He went by Kasey Kahne in the 9. He went by Kevin Harvick in the 29. The biggest thing is he's down 10 seconds from our leader, Joe Nemechek. But remember, we talked earlier, it's almost like yesterday. Mark's car gets better on long runs. Is that right, Jeannie?
That is correct. And I'll tell you what else is getting better is the campaign down here to try to get an additional guy over the wall. Again, we chatted earlier about the debris coming up from the tires. That's really, really affecting the windshield. And Mark Martin's been on the radio talking about how it's just not safe and he can't see. They just got the extra man. I just heard it on the radio to get over the wall. So this will be good news for Mark. Again, they need the extra guy to go over the wall to help with the tear off, and things will get much clearer for Mr. Martin.
Mike Bliss just moved up past Brian Vickers. Mike Bliss in the 0, new driver for that team for 2005, and he's climbed into the top dozen. Among the comers and goers, Bliss moving up and trying to move back up into the top 10. Just ahead of him is the number 10 of Scott Riggs.
And here's what happens on the tire scenario. Okay, so you say you got a car that handles good on the long run. Somebody like a Joe Nemechek, maybe he's got a car that's really, really fast on new tires. So you're going to take care of your tires and be good at the end of the run. Well, guess what happens? You come back together right at the end of the run. The fast car that was abusing his tires gets so far ahead of you that by the time it all pays off, the long run car pays off, time to make a pit stop again. So give me a car that's fast.
Talking about Scott Riggs in the 10 car, he's been one of those goers and comers. He qualified at 10th about 50 or 60 laps ago on a pit stop under caution. They had some lugs that were left off. They had to come back in. He restarted back in about 35th position, so he's been definitely working his way back to the front. I think a lot like his teammate, Joe Nemechek, he has a good race car.
Boy, I tell you, they got a couple of good-looking cars here this weekend. I know that.
What you're saying, Darrell, is tire management. Heck, I want to race somebody.
That's right. Give me a fast car. Let me get that big lead, and then you can chase me down if you want to, because I'm going back in and get me 4 more.
All right, we wondered what was happening with the hood up on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car. Matt knows.
The hits keep right out of coming for Dale Earnhardt Jr. running back in 41st. Pete Rondo, what are all your problems today?
We're not really sure. We think we had something at the start of the race, kept cutting the left front tire down. We're not sure, but after we tore the tire off it, I think it might have been pulled the fender down onto it. Just caused
Trouble, turn 4. Trouble. Part of the wall.
We'll keep working on it, working towards next race at Vegas.
Dave Blaney has hit the wall hard in turn 4. That is Blaney's second crash in as many days here.
But that's the break that Greg Biffle and Kurt Busch were looking for. Greg Biffle was out in front of our leader, Joe Nemechek, so he'll stay on the lead lap. And Kurt Busch, the 97, he will get the free pass. He'll get the pardon, and he'll be back on the lead lap. Bad news for Ryan Newman in the 12, as you spoke about, Darrell.
One person's misfortune is always someone else's opportunity. Let's see what happened to Dave Blaney, Darrell.
Yeah, we're down here coming off turn 4. When I looked up, he may have either gotten the air taken off his spoiler or got his spoiler taken off by the 4 car. I'm not sure which. That angle I can't tell.
That's Mike Wallace in the 4.
He crashed in qualifying, had to go to a backup car to start the race.
Thank goodness for those safety barriers. That cuts the impact. Those softer barriers you're looking at right there cuts the impact in about half.
Ride with Jason Leffler.
Ready there, baby. Gonna go back up track. Come low. Come on. Keep coming. Good job. Yellow's out.
The Ford is definitely tucked right up against him, but it's hard to tell if they made contact or not. And then, of course, yesterday in qualifying,
other end of the racetrack.
Turn 1, Blaney gets it down in there really hard, hot and heavy, and around she goes.
Caution is out. Pit road's open. Matt.
And Jimmy Johnson told Chad Knaus, I'm about a 4 or 5 on tightness. Now catch cam man Mike Knauer puts the wrench in the back window. Car Chief Ron Malik makes the adjustment to Dick.
Joe Nemechek, no major changes on his race car. Obviously, he's happy with it since he has been leading in that car. He has been told to leave hard by crew chief Ryan Pemberton. Ginny.
Oh, you know what Mark Martin wants. No, not a sandwich. A clean windshield. Not going to make any adjustments. Take care of the windshield, 4 tires and fuel. Steve?
Ginny Casey Kane has gotten loose in and loose off. They make 2 adjustments. Here comes Joe Nemechek.
Nemechek wins the race off pit road.
Boy, by a lot.
Meanwhile, Dave Blaney takes his car to the garage area after heavy damage from that turn 4 crash.
How far ahead of everybody Joe was. That's must have been a whale of a pit stop.
Those guys, they've been on the mark all day long. 4 tires. But let me tell you something else that's helping him. We talked about pit box selection. You heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. talking earlier about how big the pit boxes are. But another thing that's helping Joe Nemechek is he has an opening here. This is an opening that goes in the garage area. There's no one to block him in. He can get into his box, he can go deep, and he can get out without any problem. That has to be helping his pit stops as well.
Yeah, and plus these are huge pit boxes. They're probably the biggest pit boxes that we use.
There it is. You can see right there. He goes pretty deep in his box. There's no one in front of him. He doesn't have to worry about it. His spotter don't have to worry about it. About 7 seconds on just the right side change. Left side goes up. Looks like a little orchestra working here. And look at that reaction. Those boys know they did it again. They are getting her done.
144 laps complete in the Auto Club 500.
The Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q, is brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. By Aaron's. Aaron's makes dreams come true with dream prices on dream products. By New Q from Quaker State, the heat-activated oil that helps maximize the power of your engine. And by Mountain Dew. Drink up, throw down. Time for a Visa race break at the Auto Club 500 with Jeff Hamlin, Chris Myers after the Jack Daniels car taking a hard shot, but Dave Blaney okay. Our fourth caution here. Joe Nemechek, front row Joe, almost like front row in the pits. Second time off pit road. His U.S. Army team looking like the Patriots team, the way they're helping him keep that lead.
They're really working flawlessly right now. You watch their enthusiasm. They're working very well together. Joe's getting the car positioned properly, and as Larry Mack pointed out, they're taking full advantage of that really premium pit selection.
Mark Martin won the Busch race yesterday here in California, trying to do the double. Let's listen in to Mark and his crew communication.
Guys, good job again. Good job.
Y'all are on it today, man. Thank you.
Trying to keep up with the driver. He's on his game, too.
All right, let's check in with Jeannie Zelasco for some help on that tearaway thing. Jeannie?
The tearaway thing, yes. Now, do not attempt to adjust your sets. This is the kind of stuff that Mark Martin was looking through for, 40-plus laps. Of course he wanted to tear it away. Much clearer picture. It's why they really lobbied to NASCAR guys to come down here and let them bring another guy over the wall to help with the tear-off. You can see it's a much clearer picture when you actually have a visual through your windshield.
All right, Jeannie, you look much better with that torn away.
Much better. And again, that's a safety issue as far as that's concerned. You really need to make sure when you start having those types of problems that NASCAR understands every car out there has a tear off. This is what you need to do to remove it.
Dale Jarrett.
And you can see on Dale Jarrett, that's where they're pulling off. They've got little pieces of tape that allow them to take both tear offs from the right and the left side of the car so the driver can see all the way across it. It really has a lot to do with a safety issue more than anything else.
In football, tearaway jerseys, tearaway windshields here, Darrell.
If you look on top of Dale Jarrett's car, these tires are shredding up. You know, there's a lot of rubber coming off them, big balls of rubber, pieces of rubber, and it's hitting the windshields. You can see it on the top of Dale Jarrett's car, leaving those black skid marks. That's what's really fogging up or clouding up the windows is the rubber off the tires. See that on top of his car right there? That's on the roof. You can imagine what it's doing on the windshield.
And the fan may ask, well, why do they not have that extra man from the beginning of the race? Well, remember, there's 7 guys for each team across pit road. Early in the race, when everyone's on the lead lap, you know, that's almost 300 guys. So they try to wait till the field thins out before they put 43 extra guys across pit road that can be vulnerable.
And that extra man is allowed only to service the driver. 150 laps complete this time by. It'll be 100 laps, 200 miles to go in the Auto Club 500. On Fox, presented by Q, getting set for the restart.
And the fans are on their feet. I mean, they're expecting something exciting to happen on this restart.
Joe Nemechek Chevy leads Mark Martin's Ford, Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Harvick in Chevrolets, and Rusty Wallace's Dodge off into turn 1.
I'll tell you one thing, Nemechek doesn't waste any time in shooting to the front.
Johnson battling, takes third away from Mark Martin.
He got such a run. Johnson in the 48 car through the high side of 1 and 2, just drove right by the outside of Mark Martin in the 6. Ryan Newman in the 12, remember, had to make that unscheduled stop several laps ago for a tire going down. He's trying to stay there. He'd like to get back on the lead lap, get that free pass should we get a caution.
And you know, Larry, most of the time we talk about, well, he's got a lower gear than the other guys, or he's got a different gear. These cars all got pretty much the same gear in them with the new gear rule this year, like a 380.
So Johnson third in line, but second in the race behind Joe Nemechek. as Mark Martin now falling into the clutches perhaps of the 29, Kevin Harvick.
This has been the characteristics of Mark's car all day long. It's like it takes several laps to get going, and then it's really good on long runs. He needs long green runs, I think, to really prevail.
Fords dominated early, particularly the Roush Fords. The last 20, 30 laps, it's been all Chevrolet at the front.
See, Greg Biffle in the 16 car, remember on that last caution, he got back on the lead lap. He was at the tail end of the lead lap, and right now he's marked back in this wad of cars. He's 22nd position right now as we look out the back of Jeff Burton, the Singler car, watching him.
And you see all that black scuffing on his hood and on his fenders. That's from the rubber coming off these tires, making it very difficult for the guys to see.
Right now he's about 6 seconds behind our leader, Joe Nemechek.
Casey Kane. Trouble, Steve?
Might be Mike Joy. Just seconds ago, he radioed to his crew and said, I have a vibration. And they jumped up real fast. All the over-the-wall guys put their helmets back on, so they're standing by nervously to see if that vibration gets any worse.
Well, the first impression by the driver and the crew this soon after a 4-tire pit stop is that you have a tire out of balance. They put weights on these tires to balance them just like your passenger car or lugs loose.
Wrong, Larry, wrong. Driver, first thing he thinks of, you didn't get my wheel tight.
Yeah.
Seventh place was Jeff Gordon and Carl Edwards side by side. They've sorted that out. Single file. Edwards prevailed. And Jamie McMurray made some contact with the 11 of Jason Leffler. Bottom of your screen.
Oh, Leffler moved over for Scott Riggs, and Jamie was there.
On the inside. The high side, they got one inside.
Is 2 laps down back in 35th. Of course, McMurray in the 42 and Riggs in the 10 are on the lead lap.
But Scott Riggs now looks to be backing up, and you see him down to the inside tail end.
It looks to me like he's coming to pit road for something. And he,
after a fine 4th place finish at Daytona and a top 10 qualifying effort here.
Well, maybe not, Larry. I thought he was going to make it.
And he had worked his way into the top 10
yeah,
just
he was
a few laps ago.
really well.
Ricky Rudd back on pit road. That car is not running.
It's on 7 cylinders. Yeah. I think he's lost a cylinder in that engine. Jeannie not sounding too good when it came by us that time.
Well, you know what? Your hearing is impeccable, as we've gotten used to. Yeah, they believe right now they are losing the motor right now. They're just going to get it in as many laps as they can to safely keep the speed up. And then it looks like, guys, they'll be coming back behind the wall.
Well, Darrell, you talked about the gear rule. And the reason NASCAR made that gear rule is to try to contain the RPM from being so high. But even with that, the RPM, it never falls down here because you're in the throttle so much. A lot of sustained RPM.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are still turning 9,500 RPM. So it's kind of like when we talk about at Daytona, they got a restrictor plate. They don't go so fast, 190 miles an hour. Well, they got a gear rule, and they don't turn so much, 9,500 RPM.
Ricky Rudd has made the left turn and taken the Wood Brothers Ford to the garage. Michael McSwain looking on from his home in Mooresville, North Carolina, where he's recovering from back surgery. It's going to be the end of the day for that team.
Yeah, he can take the rest of the day off.
Well, if Scott Riggs has engine trouble, his teammate Joe Nemechek is leading this race. Should it be cause for them to be concerned?
Well, you would think it'd be concerned for all the Hendrick cars because those are Hendrick motors in the 2 MBV and MB2 cars of Nemechek and Riggs.
How about it, Dick?
Well, right now, Nemechek's engine is just fine, and so is his car, Mike. And that car is a demonstration of extreme extra effort. In January, virtually all of the teams in today's race came here to test. Most of them brought 2 cars and picked the best of the 2 cars. Nemechek did just that, came with 2 cars, but decided even though they were both fast, they thought they could do even better. So they decided to build a brand new car. When they left for Daytona, nothing had been done. The frame hadn't even been started. This car was finished on Saturday night. It was brought to the wind tunnel hurriedly and then brought here. And it is absolutely running on a rail today.
Yeah.
Dick, there we go. We've got audio finally. Dick, the 24, Jeff Gordon, said that the car is better. And then a few laps ago, he says, I don't know what happened, but we are nothing like we were before. The car is now off. His teammate, Jimmie Johnson, says he is a little free on exit. And an update on the 17 of Matt Kenseth. No chassis adjustments on that last stop, but they did fix the damage to that fender.
And Matt, it definitely put the 17 car Matt Kenseth back in the field. Right now, he's in 15th position. But I think this racetrack now, we're getting to the, we're well past the halfway point. I think it's trouble down in another transition. That's Kasey Kahne in the 9.
Caution is out. Kahne has tagged the wall and hard.
He may have got a little help, but it could have been a tire. What do you think, Steve?
Hey, just seconds ago, guys, Kasey Kahne said that vibration is still there, and I think something broke. The team is headed to the garage right now.
And that'll be a big break for Ryan Newman in the 12 because he will get back on the lead lap now as the free pass car.
Kahne was running 6th when he smacked the wall at turn 2.
He has got off to a rough start this year, had a rough speed week.
Daytona was awful, and now they got this. Let's see what happens here. He and McMurray were real close together. That's why I wasn't sure what happened to him. She just gets loose.
You can see with the wheels cut back to the right.
She just gets real loose right there, which is it's where they don't. It's where they do that, right in the middle of the corner.
Jeff Gordon in the 24 car right behind McMurray in the 42 car. And as we keep talking about, when these cars do this, that's at about 190 plus miles per hour.
Yeah, I didn't see any. It didn't look like any tires were down. Things look normal. It just looks real. That's what you call bad loose.
McMurray just getting by as well as Jeff Gordon. Pretty hard lick.
Yes, sir.
Kasey Kahne makes it to pit road, where it looks like they may wave him behind the wall for repair.
Yeah, the right front's locked up. It's just sliding.
Pit road is open, Matt.
And Jimmie Johnson's guys waiting for him to pull to a stop. Gas and go only for Jimmie Johnson. Pulling some strategy here for track position in the 48 pit, and he is away, Dick Berggren.
Car 01, your leader, Joe Nemechek. It's going to be a 2-tire stop rather than a 4-tire stop. They're saving that 4-tire stop for the tail end of the race. Jeannie.
Well, Mark Martin can see clearly now that trash is gone and the car's coming to him. 4 tires and fuel is all he's asked for.
2 tires for Nemechek. It looks like Johnson and Nemechek will win the race off pit road handily, with Rusty Wallace coming out 3rd. Michael Waltrip, who also gambled, and Elliott Sadler coming out 4th.
Well, it's been 15 laps since they were on pit road. We saw in the Busch race, if you've got a good Hanlon race car, you can get by with this. But I think where it could bite these guys, Darrell, is if we have a long green run of 45 to 50 laps. Those cars that did that yesterday, they kind of deteriorated to the end of those long runs.
I like Nemechek's strategy. I got me 2 right side tires, and I'm full of fuel.
Caution out once again, 5th time today here at California Speedway. Here's the race off pit road. Wasn't much of a race, was it?
Auto Club 500 on Fox is presented by New Q from Quaker State, the heat-activated oil that helps maximize the power of your engine. Glad that you're with us here on Fox, where America gathers every weekend for NASCAR. Next weekend, it's south of the border, Mexico City. Our coverage on Saturday with Busch Series qualifying on speed. Then Sunday, NASCAR's current and future stars meet on the same track for Busch Series racing on Fox. Our coverage of NASCAR continuing next weekend across the Fox family of networks. The state of California produced the most drivers in today's race 6, but for the first time we have a California driver leading. Jimmie Johnson, who came in as, at least in Las Vegas, the odds-on favorite.
He may come in the odds-on favorite, but right now I'm kind of scratching my head trying to figure out why they didn't take some kind of tires on that car. I think it's going to come back to haunt him, Chris.
87 laps to go. We're getting ready to go green.
26 cars on the lead lap. Ryan Newman got the free pass, so he is the 26th driver on the lead lap. 2 Chevys up front, Johnson and Nemechek, then Rusty Wallace's Dodge. Elliott Sadler's Ford and Carl Edwards Ford. You saw Michael Waltrip, who was fourth coming out of the pits, too fast leaving the pits. He had to make a drive-through penalty, and he will now go to the back of the pack. Dale Jarrett up to 7th. There's John Andretti. As we get set to go green, it'll be 86 laps to go. Green flag.
Joe Nemechek in that 01, he's going to stay hooked right to the rear bumper of Jimmie Johnson in the 48. He's been getting those great restarts you were talking about earlier, Darrell.
Yeah, and I expect he'll just, with those 2 right side tires Joe got, he should have an advantage over the 48 car, Jimmie Johnson.
See him back there 3 and 4 wide. A lot of cars on the lead lap, a lot of cars 1 lap down.
We're back under green. The driver who pounded the wall to bring out this caution is with Steve Burns.
With Kasey Kahne. Kasey, I heard you on the radio say that you had a bad vibration and then something broke. Do you know what went wrong?
I don't know what it was. You know, we had a great race car in practice all week, and you know, it just was a completely different race car today. We were super loose in and loose through the center. And we were just working on it, trying to get better and better. And you know, something had snapped there, but that wasn't why I wrecked. I just wrecked because I screwed up getting in.
Your team's working on the car. Will you be able to get back on the racetrack?
I hope we'll be able to get back in. You know, Mountain Dew and Dodge, everybody, you know, it's a big weekend for us, and we're hoping to have a real good showing instead to try to get out there and get some points.
Kahne is 6 laps down already and shows his 37th. Lead change. Joe Nemechek, who has 4 Cup Series wins with 4 different teams, is trying to score his 2nd for this MB2 team headed up by Nelson Bowers and Jay Fry.
Looks to me like Kasey Kahne may be having that old sophomore jinx, Larry. I mean, he is off to a miserable start.
As we mentioned earlier, they definitely had a rough Daytona, definitely speed weeks.
Pit stops during that caution. Let's get an update. Dick Berggren.
Elliott Sadler took 2 tires, so he had a fast pit stop. Same with Rusty Wallace. We already documented Joe Nemechek, who took just 2 tires. Jamie McMurray and Carl Edwards in my area all took 4.
Well, I think those 4 tires are paying off, especially for Carl Edwards in the 99, because when I look at our top 4 or 5 cars as we're riding with him here, he's definitely one of the fastest race cars at the front, but he has those 4 fresh tires versus a lot of guys that just has 2.
Back of Edwards, Elliott Sadler, who won here last fall, having the best day he's had so far, up there to 4th place after starting back in 41st.
Yeah, and they felt like they had a good car, Mike, before qualifying. They went out to qualify yesterday, and the motor only hit on 7 cylinders. Doug Yates, Todd Parrott, the crew chief, they found where a spark plug was broke or busted, and so they had to start way back at the back of the field because the motor just wouldn't run.
Well, he knows how to win here. We know that. It wasn't just a few weeks ago or a few months ago that he won a race here.
Kevin Harvick driving for Richard Childress and up to 5th place. Matt?
Finished 2nd in the Busch Series race last night, just moved up into 5th. Tick tight on the 29 car. Crew chief Ty Berrier made a slight air pressure adjustment. Larry Max talked a lot about how this team has regrouped and refocused after getting knocked out of the chase. Here last fall, they built all brand new race cars for Kevin Harvick. Only 2 cars left in the stable raced last year, all brand new.
I'm going to tell you the rebound of the day just in the last 20 laps. Remember, Kurt Busch in the 97 car made a pit stop earlier. The green flag came out, and it was only 19 laps ago that he got back on the lead lap. He's back in the top 10 in 10th.
He is. Larry, there's Kurt Busch, the 97, right behind his teammate Mark Martin and in front of teammate Matt Kenseth. But out on the racetrack, Jimmie Johnson is backing up. That no-tire strategy looks as if it is not working to Jimmy's benefit. He's lost a spot to Carl Edwards, and there now he falls into the clutches of Harvick.
We've been coming here for 8 years. We've ran 9 races. The characteristics of this racetrack before this tire change, you could get by with that because the tire was a little harder. With this softer tire that gives up, I just don't think this is going to work a lot here or any of the rest of the races.
Yeah, I don't think so either, and I think what Chad Ganowski is going to say, well, we learned our lesson there. We won't do that again.
You see a little tire rub on Harvick?
Oh, but that car, Harvick's car, remember how it looked in practice and qualifying? I mean, that baby is bouncing, and it's got a really aggressive shock package. Look at that. He's got that thing sucked down. Look at the nose. Looks like a vacuum cleaner.
But we've been seeing this on this car all week long, especially on fresh tires when you're in the corner at a pretty high rate of speed on fresh tires.
But that car has just got a really, really aggressive shock package, Larry. I mean, it's hopping, bouncing, makes them fast because it stays sucked down to the earth. Makes it hard to drive, too.
In 10 laps with Chris Myers earlier today in pre-race, Harvick characterized his driving style as aggressive. Not as aggressive as he used to be, but aggressive.
Here's another rebound right here. Bobby Labonte in the 18 car. He qualified 14th, fell back at the beginning of the race. Steve Addington, his crew chief, you have to believe maybe the car just was not right, but they've been making it right. Now here with 78 laps to go, he's back up in the top 12.
But look at the difference in the 18 car and the 29. Look how high the front nose is up in the air on the 18, and that 29. Now he gets down pretty good in the turn, but still not like Harvick is.
Jeannie with more.
Well, Larry Mack, you're exactly right. Mr. Addington has been tinkering with this car all day. Bobby Labonte having some radio problems to start this race, but, you know, surely, steady, moving along. As Bobby came on the radio a little bit ago and said, you know, good thing this is a 500-mile race because we are working our tails off to make up ground, and it's working. It's top 15.
It's pretty solid right now. This is a battle right here for 7th position between Jeff Gordon at 24, Mark Martin at 6.
I'm telling you what, they have been going at it for about the last 2 or 3 laps. This crowd right here has. They give no quarter.
Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. I think that car's back on track as he battles his teammate Kurt Busch in the 97. That's a battle for 10th right there.
I think that 17, he had lost a lot of time, but once he got that fender repaired from contact earlier with Jeff Gordon, he's been coming back to the front too.
Now, with that pit stop these teams made on lap 161 on that last caution, if we should stay green, it pretty much makes it a 1 pit stop race pretty much for everyone. Remember, they can run about 45 to 50 laps on fuel, 250 lap race. They'll have to be back on pit road somewhere around lap 205 to 210.
So Joe Nemechek out front by 3 seconds over Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, and Elliott Sadler.
Welcome back to the California 500. UPS, the official delivery company of NASCAR, delivers a chance to win 4 tickets to next year's Daytona 500. Go to foxsports.com. The key word is UPS. Joe Nemechek in his 10th California Cup race has never finished in the top 10, leading the most laps but having some engine problems. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Well, there's Joe down to the inside. Earlier, his teammate Scott Riggs dropped a cylinder. Riggs has been running at the tail end of the lead lap on 7 cylinders. You hear that engine of Nemechek as he goes by, and it sounds flat. Leading the race, drops a cylinder. He keyed the radio and said one word, Jeff, damn.
Mike, what we're talking about right now could very easily be a prop valve. This is a valve as it goes in a cylinder head. In case you happen to break a valve spring, all of a sudden this valve will go down, and what it does, if you look over at our engine, it will actually make contact with the piston. When it goes down inside there, it will actually make contact with the piston. Boom, just like that. Again, when that happens, a lot of times the head of the valve will be popped off. Again, normally the engine will not make the distance here today. It will probably eventually blow up and quit running totally.
And Jeff, it looks like right now what they were trying to determine is maybe which cylinder was not firing. How you can do that is just take a piece of chalk or something and see which cylinder's cold. But Dick Berggren, it does not look good. Looks like they're going to make that hard left-hand turn with the rod.
Yeah, Joe Nemechek just asked his crew chief, Ryan Pemberton. He said, you make the call. And Ryan said, park it. So Nemechek behind the wall. It's all done. He had led so many laps today, had such high hopes of winning here at California.
And what Jeff was talking about now, if that thing dropped a valve, it'd be smoking. It's more like, I'd say, a rocker arm or something that would allow him to continue to run for a little while, but probably not finish the race. Because Riggs is still going.
Common denominator, both of those cars, Riggs and Nemechek, powered by Hendrick engines. And Jeannie, another problem?
Yeah, I guess maybe at this point we may see a recurrent theme. Let's not hope it's contagious. 25 of Brian Vickers, similar engine type, guys. His engine stumbled on this most recent
catching up with Chad Canals, quiet on the radio, but I talked to engine tuner Danny Emmerich. He said he is nervous. Now, keep in mind, guys, back at Talladega a couple of years ago, all the Hendrick engines, they had a bad batch of parts, all failed. They build them all the same. Even though the 10 and the 01 are customer engines, they take pride in the fact that they build them all the same, whether it's for a customer car or one of their own. You can feel the tension here in the 48 and 24 pits.
I believe something's happened to the 38 car of Sadler. He's getting passed by a bunch of race cars all of a sudden.
That's Biffle right behind him, and that's Mike Bliss on the outside, the black car.
Darrell, just remember, he's one of those race cars that took only 2 right side tires, and we were talking about that a while ago. You just wonder now that they've ran about 40 laps on those left sides if this car's really starting to slide around.
Boy, all of a sudden he just dropped down. You can see here Biffle just blowing by. It looks like a straightaway speed problem to me.
With Nemechek,
might have a tire going down.
That's Elliott Sadler.
Said he may have a tire going down.
Now with Joe Nemechek's engine dropping to 7 cylinders, Carl Edwards is once again on point. Edwards has led 3 times for 24 laps in that Office Depot Ford, and he becomes the front runner. And see how things cycle through. A Roush Ford is back on top, where one of his cars spent most of the first 80 laps.
And Ryan Newman's day up and down continues. Remember, only about 25 laps ago, he got back on the lead lap. He got the free pass, but shortly after that last restart, he had paper on the grill. The car started overheating. He came down pit road. They took the paper off the grill, stuck some fuel in it. He left pit road, but then his troubles continued, speeding on pit road, passed through penalty.
Here's the guy you better keep your eye on. 500-mile race. Let it come to you.
Jeff Gordon, number 24 in the DuPont Chevy, going past Rusty Wallace. Gordon trying to become the first driver to win the season's first 2 races twice.
It's just a matter of fact that, you know, you see guys up there leading the race and running up front, and you say, do they have the staying power? Do they have the car? Do they have the team? Do they have the ability to do that? Always knowing that there's people like that, Jeff Gordon in the 24, looming, lurking back there waiting for you to make a mistake.
And I know who keeps lurking also. We talked about him all day in the Daytona 500. Rusty Wallace in the 2 car right behind him in 4th position. Mark Martin in the 6th. Remember, this is their final full year in Nextel Cup. They're trying to make a statement.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about Rusty's chances is fuel. Dodges, you know, sometimes burn a little more fuel. Mark, on the other hand, look out.
He's a man.
The Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q, is brought to you by UPS. We're going to race the truck. People love the truck. 59 laps to go, 13 leaders, 21 lead changes, and a Young Gun leading. And play the Gillette Young Guns $1 million watch and win game. Find game pieces on specially marked Gillette, Oral-B, and Duracell products. This week, the winning code number, WKFC5A. Visit GilletteYoungGuns.com for details, rules, and to find out how you can get a free game piece. Kevin Harvick currently running 2nd, and 25-year-old Carl Edwards, part of the Roush Racing team, leading the way. And some of the old guys, I mean, Rusty Wallace hanging in there in the top 5, right behind him. Well, Mark Martin just took him for that 5th spot. Rusty currently 6th.
Don't be calling them old guys, Chris.
Well,
they're veterans.
The senior drivers.
Veterans of the sport right now. Yeah, they're making a great showing right now. Chris, the one thing that's really going to interest me, we're getting ready to come up on a pit stop here in about another 10 or 12 laps. And with Carl Edwards leading this race, I'm wondering if this rookie can handle getting down pit road and not making any mistakes and costing himself an opportunity to win this race. As we look at Kevin Harvick,
Just be aware of the 29, man. You're right there with you about 1 back.
And there's a look at how the Roush racers are competing. But again, Kevin Harvick has run a good race 2nd, and Jeff Gordon trying to do the repeat back-to-back after Daytona 3rd. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Kevin Harvick is the equal of Carl Edwards, and he has closed on him about a 10th a lap. Harvick, whose last win was the Brickyard 400 at Indy in 2003, is right there for the lead.
Yeah, and Carl is really wrestling with his car right now. He was pretty loose coming off turn 2 over there. I think Harvick sees that. He's getting right ready to pounce on him right here.
Look how much deeper he can drive the car off into the corner, Harvick, than Carl Edwards can in a 99.
Here he comes. Going to get the nose under him, get him up the hill. Got a run on him.
Harvick's car, it's been hunting that white line, the bottom of the racetrack, all day long.
I'll tell you what, you go home and watch the replay of this race, people are going to look at that 29 car and say, man, what kind of shocks did he have on that thing?
Harvick becomes the 14th different driver to lead this race.
Whoa, baby. Uh-oh.
See right there, Kevin Harvick has a little bit of paper on the grill. We've been talking about that all day long, but the saving grace may be we're only about 10 or 12 laps from that scheduled green flag pit stop.
Yeah, don't cook the engine, man. That car's running so good. But you know a guy that I've been keeping an eye on, he's been quietly minding his manners, is this guy right here, Mike Bliss in the Zero car. He's running 10th. That's Ward Burton's car that he drove last year. Mike's gotten in this car this year. That team's doing a really good job of keeping him up front.
Oh, Booty Barker, the crew chief.
Steve?
Yeah, Mike, listen to the radio transmission. Mike Bliss just told Booty this car is dancing on the right rear, getting in and off the corner. It's too much on the loose side. It's fast in one corner, but loose in the other.
We just saw it firsthand, Steve. We witnessed it. Trust me.
Sorry, Steve, but we thought we were going to have an incident. We're going to have a replay here for a second. Man, he got sideways.
That's Booty Barker right there as crew chief on the left in the box. And what Booty will probably think about doing, possibly on this final pit stop, is putting wedge in that car to tighten that car up, put more weight on the left rear and the right front, make it where he can put that throttle down without the rear of the car coming out from under him.
All right, Bubba, just stay smooth. We're going to pit here in about 10 laps. That's the net, really.
Hey, Larry Mack, I know for sure one thing they're going to do, they're going to take a pound out of the right rear tire, pound of air out.
And you know what? If they can fix that car with air pressure, then that saves time on a pit stop possibly. Because trust me, this race could be won or lost on this last pit stop if it indeed is the last stop.
53 laps to go. Kevin Harvick, our new leader.
Welcome back to the Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q. At time for a Visa race break. Kevin Harvick leading with 49 laps to go from the Hollywood Hotel. Chris Myers with Jeff Hammond. He started 31st, Kevin Harvick. It's been a long time between victories for him and Richard Childress Racing.
Oh, they're looking really strong right now. That's exactly what this team needs. Everybody at RCR has worked so hard during the offseason trying to turn this program around. Jeff Burton has come on board. So many things have changed over there, and this is the kind of shot in the arm they've been looking for.
In terms of, you always hear this is a mileage race. At this stage of where we are, crew chief, driver, who can do what to maximize the fuel mileage?
I'm not so much worried about the fuel mileage right now. As we see right now, the 24 car is really starting to close in on the 29 of Harvick, and we got a caution flag right now. We got
Michael Waltrip
right there.
So we have another caution out with Harvick leading Jeff Gordon and Carl Edwards running third. Matt Kenseth fourth. Michael Waltrip, one of those guys, didn't run well on the Daytona 500, was hoping for a good showing here.
So Larry Mack, 202 laps. What are we going to do now, buddy?
Well, there's no question, Jeff. Everyone will be to pit road for 4 tires. This possibly could be the final stop. But I want to add, Chris, Michael Waltrip had the car to beat at Daytona, but had an engine failure there, too.
Yeah, he ran well enough. He just didn't run long enough. So this looks like 2 DNFs in a row to start off Michael's season. So they'll get to make this pit stop under caution, except for Terry Labonte, who had just made
Junior, I
the
can't
first
explain it to you.
of this round of green
But
flag
on that
stops.
deal right there, it felt like to me that the tire pressures were perfect. Like, no more of this push and loose. I just was plastic pushing. You know, I wouldn't be afraid to say to you, raise the track bar a foot. You know, do whatever you want to do. I don't care. Just loosen me up. I believe we would have been pretty good.
Well, they won't have that chance if the engine has expired.
But you know what? That's good information. Michael, even though they're out of the race, he's given Tony Eury Jr. We run a lot of racetracks like this. That's good information why it's fresh on his mind.
Exactly. Yeah, it's basically he's debriefing right now as he rides around there. Pretty proud of him not to lose his cool or anything.
But I think there's no question, we'll see all of our lead lap cars, which there's 21 of them, the pit road, 4 tires full of fuel, those final maybe adjustments. Matt Yoakum.
Kevin Harvick's team waiting to put one final adjustment on this race car. He needs to roll better through the center of the corner. They actually went back to some adjustments. They were going to make an air pressure adjustment in the right rear. Now they decided to shuffle the air pressure on the left side. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon says his car is a little free, but the car is really digging. Going to make a slight adjustment on the 24 as well. To Dick Berggren.
Carl Edwards pits out of third position. They've just put a round in the left rear. They're trying to adjust the car as well with tire pressure. Jeannie.
One final adjustment for the 6 car of Mark Martin. Air pressure, please. An adjustment on the right front, of course, taking all 4 tires and as much fuel as he can take, Steve.
Mike Bliss came in hot, Jeannie. They made air pressure adjustments, 1 pound out of the right rear, 1/2 pound in both left side tires. They also had a piece of paper on the grill. Long pit stop for Mike Bliss. A piece of paper on the grill that was hitting the nose to the racetrack.
It's like Kevin Harvick's crew, that 29 crew, they won the battle off pit road. The real loser, though, I think, was Carl Edwards in the 99.
I thought they were all going to wreck, Larry. Watch it. Watch this.
And you'll see Carl take one for the team in his 99. First, there's this. He has to brake for his teammate, Greg Biffle. Now, he's got to woe up for his teammate, Mark Martin.
Yeah.
Well, not only did he take one for the team, he kept those front fenders on his race car intact. Remember, racing the big picture.
Whoops.
Oh, was closing up.
Whoops.
Closing up again.
Man.
Come outside, 48. Somebody's closing up behind. Just sit there.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
46 laps to go in the Auto Club 500.
Auto Club 500 on Fox, presented by Q, is brought to you by the new Singular, raising the bar. By Subway, experience the great taste of a fresh toasted sub today. Subway, eat fresh. And by Toyota, choose any direction as long as it's moving forward. It's Oscar night in Hollywood at the Auto Club 500. The nominees, 19-year-old Kyle Busch and $1 Million Baby. Bill Elliott for Sideways. Casey Kanan and Roy Evernham in Ray. And he continues to struggle in California. Dale Earnhardt Jr. nominated for Finding Neverland. And the pilot, Jack Roush, in the Aviator. All 5 of his teams have led today, or his drivers, Busch, Kenseth, Biffle, Martin, and Edwards. The winner yet to be determined. 44 laps away, Jeff Hammond, right now with Kevin Harvick leading Matt Kenseth and Jeff Gordon.
Well, don't look now, but Matt Kenseth is back. He's up there in 2nd place, and along with last week's winner, Jeff Gordon. He's in 3rd. Kurt Busch. All these guys right now are getting ready to put the pressure on the 29 car.
Let's check in with Jeannie Zalasko.
Well, it was a slower than usual pit stop for the 6 car of Mark Martin. A jack problem, guys. And Martin maybe trying to get his jack man off the hook. Martin on the radio telling Andy Ruger, look, he could feel a problem with the first 2 pumps of the jack. Maybe it is something wrong with the jack, but he knew there was going to be trouble from the get-go. As you can see, everything's going well with the 4 tires and the fuel, and then just the problem of getting the car, the jack separated.
.43 laps to go. Call Kevin Harvick's crew The Incredibles on this stop, nominated for Best Animated Feature, by the way, as they got him out first, and he has the lead over Matt Kenseth, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch, or rather Kurt Busch, and Greg Biffle. The first 5, then it's Jamie McMurray, Mark Martin, Bobby Labonte, Jimmy Johnson, and Carl Edwards. After the double brake job on pit road, he comes out 10th. Let's listen on Jeff Gordon's team.
Take care of your fuel right now.
How much you want me to take care of it?
Take care of it now, you know, all you can. It'll give us good room for a green-white checkered at the end. We should be right on right now if you can take care of it for us.
That's thinking ahead. That was his crew chief, Robbie Loomis. We talked in the beginning, 45 to 50 laps on fuel. They pitted with 46 laps, but remember something we've not had until the middle of last year, the potential for a green-white checkered, which would add a couple or so laps to the length of the race.
And why they're telling him to take care of it now is don't be gassing it up, spinning the tires, cleaning them off. Just take care of the fuel now. We'll be all right at the end.
43 laps to go. Green flag, 41 laps to go. Kevin Harvick over Matt Kenseth, Jeff Gordon, Kurt Busch, and Greg Biffle. 2 Chevys, 3 Fords in the front 5.
Now, you know, Harvick's got that trash on his grill. They didn't get it off on the pit stop. I guess they're using the theory if it isn't broken and it's running okay, don't mess with it. But that makes me a little nervous.
Well, I'm sure they've been monitoring his water temperature and been asking him about it. And again, as long as he's out there in clean air, that helps it run a little cooler because he's not fighting traffic.
Harvick trying to keep our pole sitter Kyle Busch in the 5, 2 laps down. Busch pulls ahead of Harvick. That may allow Matt Kenseth to pull in as you look at our Quaker State aerial coverage. Turn 1 at California. Into turn 2 on this D-shaped speedway and down the backstretch. What about that grill on Kevin Harvick, Matt?
And I talked to Todd Berrier, and he asked Kevin before they made that stop, what is the water temperature? He said 190. That's why they left the debris on there. It's only going to get cooler as the sun begins to set more in the west. Just like Saturday's Busch race, the temperature was dropping drastically, and that's what they're preparing for.
I mean, these things can run at 220, 230 degrees, so they're in great shape.
Oh, yeah, that's why I say if it's not giving you a problem, don't mess with it. But, man, I should feel bad if something started causing it to heat up a little bit.
I tell you who's right back in this race, Greg Biffle, the man who said he'd lead it by lap 5 and did, got himself a lap down, made that lap back up, and now Dick Berggren, he's top 5 material again.
Yeah, and while we were under that caution flag, I sort of reminded Doug Richard that there were only 4 cars to pass. His crew chief smiled and looked at me and he said, yep. He said, just like the beginning of the race. This team has struggled all day, Mike. The car has been loose. The car has been tight. They've adjusted it. And now it seems as if when it's really important, Biffle has a fast car to shut the wind.
Well, Dick, Mike, just remember, 60 laps ago, it was Kurt Busch as well. His teammate in the 97 car got his lap back at the same time. He's back up there in 3rd.
There's some guys right there that we just took a shot of. Rusty Wallace and Dale Jarrett. They're running back here pretty darn good. Bobby Labonte.
Yeah, they were 3 wide off turn 4. Wallace in the 2, Labonte's 18, the 88 of Jarrett, and the 0 of Mike Bliss. They're all racing for 10th place right now.
But these guys think 500 miles. You know, they realize that you got to run it's a long race. You got to be there at the finish. Got to take care of your stuff somewhere along the way.
Comers and goers. It was Joe Nemechek's race until the engine went south and he went to the garage. Greg Biffle went to the back, went a lap down. Now he's going to the front. Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch. Here comes Busch, who was also a lap down earlier. Now he's right back with a shot to win.
Teammates battling for 2nd. Our current champion, he'll take 2nd place away. Kurt Busch in the 97 over his teammate Matt Kenseth in the 17.
Jeannie?
Well, guys, extensive conversations between teammates, 97 and the 17, Kurt Busch and Matt Kenseth, basically just working on some logic for the track. Certain drivers they had to get around, specifically keeping their eyes on 24. No surprise there, right? Kurt Busch, though, before this last pit stop, complaining that the car really had no aerodynamics and that he really could not race well in traffic. It was great when it was alone, but having trouble in traffic. They made some adjustments this time, air pressure adjustments, and then the usual tires and fuel, and it seems to be working better for him, guys.
Thanks, Jeannie. Let's move back to about 16th place. The 38 of Elliott Sadler, the 22 of Scott Wimmer, and the 20 of Tony Stewart there with Kenny Schrader and Kyle Petty.
It's a good solid run for Scott Wimmer, the 22. Remember, took that wild ride at Daytona 1 week ago, and this has been a good solid top 20 run for him today.
He got a lap down early and then got a free pass, got right back in the thick of things.
Same for Kyle. You know, he's up there in 20th, and that's kind of a building block for this team.
Now Kenny Schrader, who's back a little bit behind this group. You'll see Sterling Marlin in the 40. Jeff Burton is back among this pack. And Schrader's managed to hang on. There's his number 49. He had a problem with the hood. The left front corner of it was flapping up in the breeze, and but it wasn't slowing him down. He was still passing cars. So Schrader's stayed on the lead lap all day too. Casey Kane on the left of your screen comes back in the race, coming out of the garage area. Smoker, turn 1. Jason Leffler brings out the caution with 34 laps to go.
And Kane's back out because of wine, Larry.
Trying to get another position because it's not that many laps. He will go by Joe Nemechek, which is already out of the race. Here's Ryan Newman's break again in the 12 car. He'll be the free pass car. Plus, this is a break for Kyle Busch in the 5, our pole sitter. He will get one of his 2 laps back.
Ryan Newman, the 5 car's been really fast. He's been up there racing with the leaders ever since about halfway.
Jason Leffler in the Joe Gibbs FedEx number 11.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Up in smoke.
Funny how they blow up where you're going, right where you're going fastest, you know, right at the end of the straightaway.
So 33 to go. Kevin Harvick, who has 2 wins here, a Winston West Series race in 1998 and an IROC event, an International Race of Champions win here in 2002. He's your leader over Kurt Busch and Matt Kenseth.
Jeff, with only 33 laps to go, it's only been 8 laps since we're on pit road. I know a lot of these guys would love to have 4 fresh tires, but remember, we have 22 cars on the lead lap. I think we'll see a lot of these guys at the front stay out.
They probably will, Larry, but what about the green-white checkered scenario? You've always got to have a little insurance policy, too.
Plus, remember 2 things. When Jimmy Johnson didn't take tires, he went backwards, although Joe Nemechek took only 2 and led the race.
But guys, you got to think of it like this right now. Kevin Harvick's going to dictate what happens here. I think most of the guys, at least in the top 10, they're going to kind of go off of his play. If he comes down pit road, I think they'll come with him. But I don't think fuel's going to be a problem. As everybody looks like they're kind of hugging that white line, trying to make their mind up. And here comes Kevin Harvick. Look like he's going to come down pit road and bring everybody up. The 97 car jump back out there, guys. It's going to be interesting now.
We had several cars that stayed out. Kurt Busch in the 97, Greg Biffle in the 16. Matt.
No question here at the 29 pit. Todd Farrier called him on pit road, so we're going to give 4. We've got enough laps left to go. No chassis adjustments for Harvick. 4 tires as well for Jeff Gordon. He says his car is coming around. They were talking about 2 tires. They were going to come with the leaders, whether they came or not. The 24 is out as well.
Oh, boy.
Dale Jarrett fighting for a top 10 finish. He said it's just a little bit tight on the throttle. They're going to add a ½ pound of air in the right rear. They debated taking 2 versus 4. Dale said it's terrible on 2. 4 tires it is for DJ.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to make a gamble, call it a gamble, come to pit road, I don't think I'm going to mess with 2 tires. I'm going to go ahead and get me 4 tires while I'm there.
Looks like Jamie McMurray and Elliott Sadler may have taken 2, however, Dick.
Well, they left the choice up to Greg Biffle as to whether to pit or not. And if he was going to pit, the plan was for Biffle to take 2 tires. Biffle decided to stay out there after listening to his crew chief say, track position is everything. Now, Biffle is in 2nd spot on the racetrack. Good choice.
It's not Hollywood Boulevard, but it's faster than any California freeway, the 2-mile California Speedway, where there's 30 laps, 60 miles to go. The first 4 drivers, 3 Roush cars, Busch, Biffle, and Martin, plus Rusty Wallace's Dodge, did not make pit stops. The next 2 cars, Jamie McMurray and Elliott Sadler, each took 2 tires. And from 7th place, Kevin Harvick on back, everybody took 4 tires. What's going to be the winning strategy?
I like being out front. That's the fastest lap times I've seen today have come from the cars that are leading the race. So I think that'll be the cars that'll pull away from these guys. 4 tires might pay off right at the end, but I don't think so.
And with 29 laps to go, remember, it was reported Kurt Busch's car does not drive good in traffic, but right now he's out front without any traffic.
That's just another advantage to being up front, starting up there. He can get away from these cats.
Joe Nemechek led, had engine trouble. Scott Briggs, his teammate, dropped a cylinder. Another Hendrick car has gone to the garage, Terry Labonte. And the 25, Brian Vickers, another Hendrick car, has had motor trouble.
And all of our engine troubles today has been with the Chevrolets. With the GMs, I don't know of any Fords maybe that has had any engine issues, or Dodges.
Kurt Busch likes his car in clean air, and he is trying to pull away from Greg Biffle. Biffle's led 23 laps today. Kurt Busch just led his 5th lap of this race.
Boy, Jeff Gordon just made a great pass down the front straightaway here. Got by about 5 guys all at once.
But the guy on the move, guys, he was leading before this caution. Kevin Harvick in that 29 car. He's right up behind Mark Martin with 4 fresh tires. He knows he has not a lot of time to waste, bringing Jeff Gordon in the 24 with him.
Jeff Gordon's car is really, really fast still, Larry. He got by that whole lot of cars back in there in one big swoop.
Now the last lap by the leader, Kurt Busch. Track position, clean air. He was fastest the last lap.
Now look at this wad of cars here. This is about position 5th through 25th right here with 28 laps to go.
Fastest car that time, Greg Biffle.
Riding with John Andretti, looking aside at Sterling Marlin, who is 15th. Andretti's 2 laps back.
See how much just being out in clean air. Kurt Busch in the 97, his teammate Greg Biffle in the 16. They need to build as much lead as they can. Now Jamie McMurray in the 42 car, the Havoline car, he's moved up to the 3rd. Remember, he has those 2 fresh tires on the right side.
And again, Greg Biffle is the fastest car by a couple of tenths.
Smoke in turn 4, Darrell, as Robbie Gordon takes his car down pit road. Smoke, but apparently no fluid on the racetrack. We're going to stay green.
Man, oh man, look how far Busch and Biffle have pulled out. And I think they're going to ride that way, Larry, but I believe Biffle is definitely quicker than Busch.
And these guys do not want to see a caution flag.
And they don't want to race each other. They want to be sure if Biffle's going to pass, you got to make it quick and clean.
And Biffle is marginally quicker.
And the second quickest is the man leading the race, Kurt Busch. The one we'll keep an eye on is that 29 car, Kevin Harvick.
You do get the draft effect here, so Biffle is getting a good little pull off of Kurt Busch, which would make him a skosh faster.
Harvick, that lap, Larry, was 0.6 of a second slower than Greg Biffle.
Well, I think he's been back there fighting the lap car of Travis Quaffle, the 77.
Watch the 43.
I think the 5 car forces him up the hill. He gets in that loose debris high in the up against the wall and knocks and hits the wall.
And then gets hit by Jeremy Mayfield.
Yeah, and Jeremy's got quite a bit of damage now on the right front corner there.
Mayfield 2 laps down, 31st. Jeff Green was a lap down in 28th.
The new tires just don't seem to make that much difference at this point.
Is that surprising?
It wasn't to me. I mean, what I saw earlier today looked like the distance was just right for no tires. If they had to go a full run, or if the run had been longer, I'd say get tires, but they had just about in the window.
And I think with Kevin Harvick, who we're seeing right now in the 29 car, he had to restart back in 6th position and not only fight those cars in front of him, but the lap cars to the inside of him.
For the lead, Biffle looking low coming out of turn 2.
Now these two guys don't want to race each other very long because that will draw these other guys back to him. So if he's going to make the pass, make it clean and get on out of there.
Yeah, these two don't. Jamie McMurray in the 42 wants to see him. You guys go ahead and race side by side.
Biffle and Busch are teammates, but there are no team orders from car owner Jack Roush. And we've checked on Terry Labonte.
That's it, Biffle. Hit your marks now.
Labonte's number 44 is out of the race with rear end trouble. It was not an engine problem.
Yeah, because he had 4 tires. I think he got ready to leave the pit box and it didn't go.
And that was Greg Biffle's spotter, Joel Edmonds, telling him, all right, you have the lead, hit your marks, focus, don't overdrive, don't underdrive your race car.
Biffle is doing just what he did at Homestead in the last race of last year. He is checking out. He's a good man. He's about 4 or 5 tenths quicker than the other cars.
You rarely get a called shot in auto racing, but yesterday Greg Biffle said, I've got the best car here. I'm going to lead by lap 5. I'm going to win this race going away. That was a bold prediction. He may just be making it come true.
Well, we've gone full cycle. You know, he started out leading the race, and he got lapped down, got behind in the middle of the race. But here we are, right back like we started.
And Jeff Hammond, he's beating the competition right now, 2 to 3 tenths a lap.
Larry, you're right about that. He is really showing some really huge strength right here on these used tires. I thought it was going to be just like with the 48 car. But guys, I want to point out one thing. We've already seen a lot of engine problems here toward the end of the day, and I'm not going to be one bit surprised because of the sustained RPMs that we run around this racetrack if we don't have another caution because of engine failure before the end of the day.
Now that could cause these guys with no tires a problem. You bring these guys with better tires, and Jimmy Johnson's off the pace, guys. Looked like he does anyway. He pulled to the inside.
And that's another Hendrick car. So as strong as the Hendrick team was at Daytona and in qualifying here, where Hendrick engines at 7 of the top 12 spots, most of the Hendrick cars, but for Jeff Gordon, have had some kind of difficulty today.
I think that
oh, there it is. Travis Quaffle in front of Johnson bounced off the wall. That may have been why Jimmy slowed.
He slowed down and pulled to the inside, and but he seems to be up to speed now.
Travis Quaffle in the 77, he hit the wall in practice the other night, and he almost hit it again there coming off turn 4. This is a battle with teammates. Matt Kenseth in the 17, Carl Edwards in the 99. This is a battle for ninth as they're side by side. 19 laps to go. Looks like Scott Riggs in the 10 car ran up front a lot in the early part of the race, down on the cylinders. He goes to the garage area.
Let's show you what happened to Travis Quaffle. Maybe this is why Jimmy Johnson had to slow up here, Darrell.
Something happened. He drops to the inside. I just saw him make that quick move, and I thought something had happened to him. Looks like he's okay.
Now the fastest car that lap was Jamie McMurray in the 42 car. He beat Greg Biffle by over a 10th. Everything's still okay on that 16 car, Dick?
Yeah, it seems to be. And right now, Mark Conser, who is behind the wall in Greg Biffle's crew, is showing you his tattoo. Now, that's devotion. Conser has never been to victory lane in 10 years of NASCAR. And he may look calm now, but a moment or so ago, he was literally jumping up and down.
And you know, guys, over the offseason, you always get asked, who do you look for to really be strong this year? And I said all during the offseason, I just feel like this race team stayed intact the way they ran most of the races. If they can find that consistency, I think they'll be contenders all year long.
There's no question Greg Biffle gives you everything he's got all the time.
Every lap.
He's a no-holds-barred driver.
If you're off, don't look at the driver with him.
That's exactly right.
Oh, and he almost scraped the wall there coming off the corner.
That's his style.
Trouble turn 2. One car way slow up high. Is that Kenseth? It is.
Now, this is not what Greg Biffle or Kurt Busch, neither one needs. They need him to get off the racetrack and not bring any type of caution out.
Yeah, I don't see any smoke.
Left front, right front. Left front.
Right front.
Hey, guys. We'll just put 4 tires on here.
Hopefully he can get it back to the pit without further damage, and we will stay green.
Yeah, if he doesn't throw any, if that tire doesn't come apart and get rubber all over the racetrack or debris over the racetrack, it should be fine.
Looks like we're going to be okay because he's in turn 4 right now. We see Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car going by Mark Martin in the 6. This is a battle for 6. Remember, Mark, a lot like his 2 teammates leading the race, elected to take no tires. But you just, when you're back in traffic, Darrell, with the older tires, you just can't maneuver the race car.
Kenseth has made it safely to pit road.
And Rusty Wallace, who took no tires, he's all the way back to 10th place. So you had to be up front to make this work.
This will be another big hit for Matt Kenseth. Remember, finished 42nd at Daytona. His hole was already dug just a little bit coming here. You can see that tire coming apart, and the big fear is what's happening right here, just ripping that right front fender apart. That kills the aerodynamics of the car. But he's backing away now. He has 4 fresh tires, a little repair on the fender, 15 laps to go, 2 laps down.
That's where he's going to end up. He's a lap down right now, but they will overlap him before he gets back up to speed, so he'll go 2 down to race leader Greg Biffle.
I don't think Jamie McMurray's got time to catch these guys. He might catch Kurt Busch. He's coming pretty hard, pretty fast on these guys.
Right now, he's just keeping tempo with Greg Biffle. He's not really faster now, but he's not slower.
But he's a little quicker than Kurt Busch, so he's got him in his sights. As he gets closer, that interval will cut down. He'll get a little draft off of Busch. Might be able to catch him.
And Darrell, we were just talking the other day. McMurray, he all but had to race one here a year ago and had some fuel issues near the end.
Jamie McMurray third, 3 seconds off the lead. Kurt Busch is 1 second back of his teammate Greg Biffle.
Jamie. Keep doing what you're doing.
Jamie?
First thing to go, you're the quickest car.
Kurt Busch driving like a champion, guys. You can't really tell it from watching the car out on the track. But several laps ago, he came on the radio and said, look, I cannot keep up in 1 and 2. And what he's found throughout the day is every 10 laps after the pit stop, the car goes away much willingness to happen.
Well, just remember, he finished second in the Daytona 500. We see Jeff Gordon in the 24 car. He's going to lose a position to Carl Edwards in the 99.
Hey, Larry, he's lost a couple of spots. The 48 went by him. Something looks like some mist on that car.
He's dropped to 8th. He's dropped a cylinder.
When he came by, he's dropped a cylinder. That would be the 4th Hendrick engine to have problems here.
Larry Mack, he just passed the Hollywood Hotel, and you can tell he's down a cylinder. He's already running flat on him.
Boy, these 500 miles, they just suck the guts right out of him.
And Darrell, we watched practice on Friday, and because of the procedure here, teams trying to work on race setup and qualifying setup, we watched a lot of teams run a lot of laps in those 2-hour sessions.
More than normal, over 100 miles in many cases.
Jeff Gordon's engine kept him in the hunt for 470 miles.
And right now, he's just trying to nurse this thing home. We have 11 laps to go and hope it will hold together where he can maybe have a top 15 or 20 finish.
And whatever's wrong with these engines, they're not blowing up. Something's breaking. More like a rocker arm or a valve spring.
Remember, the 17 car right behind Greg Biffle, that's his teammate. He's 2 laps down, has those 4 fresh tires.
Greg Biffle just put his hand out the window net, pointed to the inside. He wants Matt Kenseth to pass him on the inside. Kenseth on fresh tires, goes on by.
Lose as little time as possible.
Yep.
Just follow him. Stay with it, boy. Get down there and suck off the back of him.
Get a little bit of draft like you were talking a while ago. 10
laps to go. Kurt Busch now falls 1.3 seconds behind Biffle. Jamie McMurray closing about 0.4 of a second a lap. He's got it down to 2.4 seconds. McMurray has enough time, but there's a lot of track between him and the leader.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no traffic, so that's not going to help McMurray at all. It's a pretty clean racetrack ahead of him.
Now, unlike his teammates, Greg Biffle and Kurt Busch, Mark Martin continues to pay the price, I think, for having no tires, because right now his other teammate, Carl Edwards in the 99 with 4 tires, is trying to overtake him for 6th position.
You just got to know how good your car is, Larry.
Just ahead of them, Jimmy Johnson, the last Hendrick car that is still running at speed, just past Kevin Harvick. Johnson takes over 4th place in his Lowe's Chevy.
Harvick had that one good spurt in there where he got up there and got the lead, but this last go around he hadn't been quite as good. See, he's a couple of miles an hour off of Jimmy Johnson.
And look who's coming back from having to pound on the brakes hard twice on pit road on the last stop. Carl Edwards. He's up to 7th, and he's challenging Mark Martin for 6th.
It looks like Mark beat him getting in the corner, but Mark Martin in the 6th paid the price on the exit. Carl was able to pick the throttle up, stay in it, and win the drag race down this long front straightaway.
Those fresh tires, he's got a little bit more grip, so he can cut it under Mark and drive by him coming off.
Good battles all the way back through the field.
You know, a guy that had a hood blowing up a while ago, this is a great run for this race team. Kenny Schrader in the 49 car, looks like they got that hood repaired on the last pit stop. He's up there running 15th. This would be a great run for these guys.
He just went past Sterling Marlin as they battle hard to the finish. That will pump Schrader up to 14th place. Good run.
Also happy with the run Kyle's had today. He's hung around the top 20 all day long. He's right in 20th spot right now.
Kyle Petty, good
run for them. And Bobby Jr. actually, you know, in the Tide car, he's 21st. It's not too bad a run for them on the lead lap.
7 laps to go, and the black flag is in the starter's hand, and I believe it's for Jeff Gordon.
Well, the problem with that is he's not up to speed, and so you got a minimum speed you got to maintain, and plus that, if something should happen to that engine and it blew up, we'd end up getting a caution flag here at the end of the race that we don't really need.
And I'm sure he's going as hard as he can go. He's back in 20th position right now. But yeah, the leader's running 41, 15s, and 20. Jeff Gordon is in the mid 45 second range, over 4 seconds off.
He's on pit road.
They're going to raise the hood and check it, try to get him back out to complete a couple of laps.
Raise the hood, check it out here, go back out.
Now Gordon was on the lead lap, so he would finish in the top 25. This will take him off the lead lap. as the starter displays the open hand. 5 laps to go to Greg Biffle.
And if you're Greg Biffle, you're saying, come on, boys, just keep everybody clean. Let's get this thing over with.
We listened in on Greg Biffle and his team. And again, he almost loses it right there. My gosh.
So 97, we could use a little help if he feels like it.
Info, just keep checking.
What he's telling them, quit looking in your mirror. Look out that windshield.
What he's telling them is telling them to lay off, leave me alone. I got my hands full here. I got old tires. I got a fast car, and the 97's closing.
Jeff Gordon has returned to the track. He'll be 2 laps down as Carl Edwards closes right up on Kevin Harvick for 5th place.
But you know, you got to be impressed with Kurt Busch. I mean, he just keeps clicking off those top 5s.
Which is what he did in the final 10 races last year. Top 5s, top 10s.
Kurt Busch will leave here as the Nextel Cup point leader, it appears.
Jeff Gordon did return to the racetrack. He's 1 lap down, back in 26th position as we have 4 laps to go.
Kurt Busch has 10 top 10 finishes in the 11 races, in the last 11 races, and 1 victory in there.
And the only race it was not a top 10 was the engine failure at Atlanta.
He's 6/10 behind Biffle. He was 4/10 faster on that lap. Greg Biffle may have his hands full as we come toward the flag.
Yeah, Biffle's car has just really gotten loose. You can see him jump sideways off the corner, so he's got his hands full.
Jamie McMurray had his hands full in the 42 car of Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Remember, Jimmy Johnson has 4 fresh tires, but will there be enough time?
And Jamie McMurray only took 2 on that last stop. What we tell you at the start of the day, there'd be comers and goers. Somebody get a big lead, but by the time the checkered flag's ready to come out, they're all going to be right back together, and they are. Biffle, Busch, Johnson, McMurray.
2 to go. Jimmy Johnson beat the leader that time by 1/2 second on that lap. I just don't know if there'll be enough time, though, because he's got to get by Kurt Busch in the 97, too.
I don't think he can get to the 16. I don't think the 97 will let him, tell you the truth.
And that may be the kind of help that Biffle wanted from Kurt Busch. Be my wingman.
That's it.
Keep that bandit from getting to me.
Tell him we need some help.
I don't know, Darrell. That 48 car, he's close right up to Kurt Busch in the 97. If he can get by him, they'll be coming to the white flag this time.
It's going to be close.
Jeff Gordon has gone to the garage.
Can you imagine it's going to be close? 500 miles. 3.5 hours.
250 laps.
3 guys fighting for the win.
Yeah, it's a 3-horse race. McMurray well back.
Jimmy
Biffle
Johnson,
and Busch to the bottom.
He drives it down into turn 1 and 2, but Kurt Busch in the 97 got a good bite off the corner there side by side for second.
Boy, you can see Kurt. He is trying not to drive as hard as he can go.
48's real good. Just protect the bottom down here. Take it back. He's one good corner here.
Kurt's late wingman right there.
Basically, he's holding him up just enough that Greg's going to be able to get to the finish line here first.
Kurt Busch holds Jimmy Johnson at bay, and Greg Biffle is coming around to win in Montana, California.
Good job, boys.
And he is glad to see 250 laps on that board.
Those tires had no more laps left in them. That's 0 laps left in my tires.
Jimmy Johnson comes up 1 lap shy of being side by side with Biffle.
And now you know why Biffle was jumping sideways and
well, Pretty Boy didn't get her today.
Woo, great job, Greg. Way to have you. Glad we had you in our court today.
I kind of agree with Doug. I don't know if too many guys could have hung on that thing on those old tires all the way to the finish like that and won the race.
I think, Darrell, the winning call was when he asked Busch for help. He knew Jimmy Johnson was coming. He needed a wingman, and he got one.
He got one. Kurt Busch, 2nd place again this week. Here we go. Here we go, baby. Yeehaw.
Greg Biffle's our winner of the Auto Club 500. Jimmy Johnson 2nd, Kurt Busch 3rd.
And welcome to the Nextel Post Race Show, brought to you by Nextel, helping NASCAR groups get things done. NASCAR and Nextel, partners in speed. Greg Biffle, his 2nd win at his last 3 races. Dick Berggren is with him in victory lane. Dick?
Yeah, I am. This is one happy guy, and he deserves to be. How hard were you driving today?
I'll tell you what, man.
This National Guard posted car was, it was good, just way too loose at the end. Lost all that track position. I got back there, it just wouldn't turn, and I had to free it way up, and I got it way too free. There at the end, those guys are catching me, but we had the fastest car, but I was just way too loose. I was driving my butt off, man.
Yeah, and you blew your prediction, too. You said by lap 5, you did it on lap 4.
Yeah, the car was really good. Doug just did a great job. I'm so proud of these guys. If you'd asked me my chances halfway through the race, we were a lap down, I'd have said no way. Just, I couldn't get the car to do what I wanted to, and Doug moved the tire pressures around and everything, and I took that last half around the wedge out of it, and I shouldn't have. It's getting cool here today, and man, it's just awesome. I can't wait to see my dad. We're on our way down to Mexico tomorrow morning, so it's this awesome win for everybody, Jack Roush, and just everybody back at the Fab Shop. Everybody's worked so hard. The engine ran great today. Just unbelievable run for us.
Tell us about Kurt Busch behind you and Jimmie Johnson behind him.
It was, I mean, just my car, I lost all the rear grip. There was about 4 to go, and Kurt was coming on me. I just touched the wall, just barely getting off a 2 a couple times, just skinned it because I just totally sideways, just no rear grip, spinning the rear tires, and I was able to keep it under me.
Great job. Well, Matt is with Jimmie Johnson.
A tremendous drive by Jimmie Johnson. What a wheelman's performance, trying to bounce back from that pit call of not taking tires. But you said you put that in Chad's head to begin with.
Yeah, I thought we just had a few laps and it would work. So I put it out there for him, and he asked me if I wanted to do it. And so I'm leaving it up to you. So I bailed out like a driver would right away, and we did it, and it hurt us. But I really think we could have been able to come back, and we should have been able to win that race. We got tangled up with some lap cars down in 1 and 2 and knocked me up in the marbles, and I lost a bunch of spots. But just an awesome day for the Lowe's team. Got to thank and say hi to all the Lowe's managers down in Florida. I know they're all gathered up watching, and also say hello to my wife back home watching. She's not here, and I think she would have killed me if I would have won this race and she wasn't here.
His second place finish going along with his win that he got here in 2002. Jeannie?
Well, the true mark of a champion is the ability to sustain the excellence. I watched you getting out of the car here a little slow, I'm sure some fatigue, but I also heard some frustration at the end of the race on the radio. Was it frustration with another driver or frustration with yourself in the car?
When you get so close, you want to be able to capitalize, and Biffle was strong today, and congratulations to him. He's a teammate of mine, and that's what you want. You want to race a teammate for the win. Roush had a great day today. I ran so hard in the beginning, I smoked my tires, and then the 48 got us at the end. So that's the gamble that you take. You run hard early with those old tires. Somebody might catch you later, and I wanted to win, but it's a great way to start off the season with our Sharpie Ford.
All right, well, about a mile west of here, they're giving away awards for supporting actors. I think you should get a supporting role and go find Biffle because he owes you something. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, Jeannie.
All right, Steve.
Thanks, Jeannie. 3 Roush cars in the top 5. Carl Edwards got out of the car. He wanted to win the race.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a great run for Office Depot and for our whole team. But, man, to lead those laps and to think about what it would be like to win here at California Speedway, that was just amazing. It was so much fun, though. I had a blast. I love leading these races. It feels so good. Had fun racing with everybody. I just can't thank Office Depot enough for coming on board. We had the Metal Militia and Brian Deegan and guys with us this week, too. So we had a good time here.
All right, congratulations. Great run. Up to Mike Joy.
Thanks, Steve. Jack Roush has won the last 2 Cup championships, and he leaves this second race with these cars in the top 5. Wow, pretty strong.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I love his lineup of drivers. If he can keep everybody on the same page, working together like they did today, look out, everybody else.
But I tell you, I think the biggest story of the day, things will be awfully busy in the Chevrolet Hendrick engine department in the morning trying to figure out what in the world was going on with these engines, especially with Jeff Gordon, the 24 that won the Daytona 500 a week ago.
What do you say, Phyllis? Let's go to Mexico.
I'm ready.
I'm ready to go. By the way, good run for Mike Bliss and Kyle Petty. Bobby Jr.
All right, next week you can throw your sombrero to the sky. Busch Racing on Sunday on Fox from Mexico. Speaking of the sky, 35-year-old Greg Biffle from Vancouver, Washington. Jeff Hammond, not considered one of NASCAR's starring men, but he had a leading role today and certainly one of the better drivers, well respected in that part, and he got it done today.
He definitely got it done today, Chris. I mean, he called his shot early on, took that lead, flexed his muscle, struggled some in the mid part, but when it came time for showtime to take home all the gold, he sure enough got it done.
A serious threat, of course, for the championship overall, as Mike mentioned. Jack Roush and Ford trying to win their 3rd straight Nextel Cup Points Championship. In 2 weeks, we'll be in Las Vegas for Cup racing. Next weekend on Sunday, NASCAR's current and future stars meet on the same tracks for Busch Series racing. That's on Fox, and you heard Greg Biffle say he would be there. Our coverage of NASCAR continuing next weekend across the Fox family of networks. In an event, celebrities on hand to watch Greg Biffle, a 15-1 long shot in Vegas, win today. We'll see you in 2 weeks from Las Vegas on Fox.